Well, welcome. Midweek. Are you getting a bit weary with all the fire and brimstone over the present Doctor Who series? Fancy just sitting back and counting the shadows? Our time flash is the silence in the library. 16 years ago this week. 16! Craving just lounging on a settee and enjoying a moody, world-building classic part one of a new adventure. We share our favourite part ones of all time Doctor Who. Tell us yours in the thread. We will preview Dot and Bubble. We'll have our ratings updates in a minute. Click on those notifications, please. Come on. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? It would be a lovely surprise and gift to get us to 500 before the season finishes. So please check if you're subscribed while you're enjoying this. Sundays at 7, remember, we'll do our reviews. It'll be Dot and Bubble, of course. Saloons on Tuesdays. Midweek fun, as you can see tonight. Where else would you need to be? So kick back those shoes, chillax in nostalgia, laughs, and a full Doctor Who comfort blanket. But to do that, I need friends. Oh, damn. So let's bring them on one by one. So let's start with, let's see. Hello, Rachael.
Hi, you all right?
Are you well?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks.
Yes,
You?
I know I won't push it.
Don't push it.
Don't push it, but chat about it. Don't shout about it. Check the
Absolutely.
channel out. She's been talking about Doctor Who and other things.
Of course.
Please.
Bit more spicy, but if you just come for the Doctor Who, that's also absolutely fine.
Of course. Now, obviously, with our track record, how's about that? Does that make you feel nostalgic? Does that make you feel good as a Doctor Who fan? Look at that set.
I know, it's great, isn't it?
I mean, do you know which one?
I actually don't know which one that is off the top of my head.
And thread, see, what about this angle? There you go.
That's not... Which one is it?
Which one is it, everybody?
See, I'm not very good at recalling this sort of thing, so
don't worry, don't
bear
worry.
with me.
Let's see if we can bail. Well, we'll bail you out by bringing in somebody else as well. Gary, here we go. Hiya, Gary.
Hello.
Bail me out, please, Gary.
My guess is that it's a Troughton episode, even though it's in color. Is it the Macra Terror?
Well, I'll give you another clue.
You see, I feel like this should be black and white.
Oh, is it the War Games?
It is the War Games.
My God, that's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah.
How did I not get that?
Well, just to show you again, you might start to get your bearings. I know the color, it's so deceptive, isn't it? It's so easy to see it in color. So, yeah, War Games.
That door is unmistakable for War Games.
I tell you what, I love the War Games.
John, War Games, what about that?
Fantastic story.
Color.
Yeah.
I do like to, I love to see black and white and color, don't you?
Yeah. Just give me the missing episodes first, please.
Mind you, isn't this the rumored one to follow up on the Daleks in color, but they'll heavily edit it at the 10 episodes? It worries me slightly.
Yeah, it'd be half hour.
If they edit this thing down to 75 minutes, that's going to be really interesting.
If you showed me that one, I would have got it.
Yeah, he's from Rent-A-Ghost, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, you know me. I love these sets. Look at this. Look at this. I'll have to bring Sean in. He likes his sets as well. Let's have a look. Sean, hiya.
I wondered if you were going to leave me in the backstage green room there for a minute.
Oh, it was almost tempting.
Yeah, I know. Sin bin, as I said last week. So, Sean, look at that set.
Lovely, isn't it?
Yep.
I know. I do love color. I don't know. Just looks so good to me. And then take a look at this. This is obviously black and white, but look at the gunfighters. Can you see the shadow at the back where she's just touching up the set? Oh,
yeah, great.
Yeah.
I mean, gunfighters isn't a popular one, as you know. We Doctor Who fans do have our critiques. Linda Barron singing, isn't she? There's the set again. Yeah. So
Gunfighters is great as long as you don't binge it, because if you binge it, you're going to get that song about 10 times for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? I mean, and he gets his tooth done as well. It's a very unfortunate. Right now, if you do like sets, and this is warming the cockles of your heart as a good old Doctor Who fans, or if it hasn't, I had to contingency plan. What about this, folks? If you're not feeling nostalgic yet and you're not feeling warm to Doctor Who, what about this then?
Oh, great.
Oh, now you see,
Oh.
this takes, sorry, Gary, this takes me all the way back, 75. If you couldn't have your own sets like the ones I just showed you there, you could get out of each of Weetabix packet, you could
look
get
at that.
monsters in cardboard. Oh yeah, make it a bit bigger. Who in the thread remembers this? Who's old enough to remember this? I remember at school trying to swap. I remember having Tom Baker. I never had the Quark. I had the Dalek on the top in the middle. Oh God, it was so complicated.
It was a clever way to get me to eat Weetabix.
Yeah, you suddenly weren't having two; you were having loads. Actually, you were chucking.
I love the at the top the Tom Baker like disco stance with the flare pants. That's great.
Yeah, I remember the Sea Devil as well, having that. You see, some of them, because I was a 70s kid, the robot in the middle row, I didn't know. I knew the Draconian very well. We all wanted Alpha Centauri. These, for those in the thread who weren't born and weren't as old as me, these were cardboard cutouts, and you made them into puppets. And you then had your diorama. And that diorama I adored. I took this to school every day. And on my school desk, I'd have that diorama, just a piece of cardboard, which was the back of the Weetabix packet. And I'd move, obviously, the Doctor Who figures along. Oh, God, this was heaven. Absolute heaven.
I will say something. This would have convinced me, had I been born at that time, which I wasn't, to eat Weetabix with milk instead of Marmite.
Oh, well, what about this as a diorama? What about this one? Because you had a choice. If you got loads of Weetabix packets, you could get, there you go. You could have a nice swampy effect. Don't know if it's quite Planet of Evil-ish. I don't know.
It's nice artwork.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, Marmite.
And you can see how you turn it over and all the rest of it and set it all up. Oh, I tell you what a world this was in the 70s. That's all I needed was cardboard. That's all I needed. Kept me really happy. Ah, those were
Here we have all the cardboard on the screen instead of in the breakfast table.
I thought you were going to say Shouty then for a minute.
Now, if none of this works because you're going, I'm too old, and you're still not feeling nostalgic and warm inside to do with Doctor Who, what about this then? This is for the dads. There you go.
Kylie.
Thank you very much.
Good old Carly. You don't need Leela, do you?
We've all wanted to be that Dalek, haven't we?
She was she reconstructing the good old Katie Manning one, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah. Not quite.
Well, yeah, not quite, unfortunately.
Yes, not quite. Actually, when you go looking out the Katie Manning shot, it's very hard to find at the moment. I don't know if
I wonder why.
I do love that. What was it at the con? Was it Panopticon where the young lad asked her years back about whether she's going to do any topless photos in Mayfair, and she comes up calls him out to the stage, doesn't she, to tell him off, like cheekily. It's great. I love Katie. She's brilliant.
That was the cover of one of the Doctor Who magazines.
Yes. In fact, if I took all your faces away, it does say at the bottom Doctor Who magazine. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's well spotted. Well, okay then. Let's get you just still in the mood. Can you imagine this? I know I'll take you through this, Gary. Saturday night this is in the 19. I think this is the 1990s, 80s.
Yeah.
Roland Rat at tea time on a Saturday. That was a puppet. Doctor Who, Bob's Full House, game show based on bingo, but a good comedian. Heidi High, sitcom. Paul Daniels' Magic Show. Casualty's still on now, our drama about the A&E. Saturday night at the movies, and then a late movie after that. But there you go. Does that make anybody feel any good?
Paul Daniels' Magic Show, heaven. And did anybody else have the magic set?
Oh, my brother had the magic set. Yeah. Well, a 90s version of the magic set.
Yeah,
great. Well, Stephen Mulhern when I was growing up, he was the one with the magic sets.
Yes, yes. It
Yeah,
just
yeah.
shows you the generation different. Okay, then I'll jump decade. We'll go into the 70s.
This is still a good lineup.
Good game, good
Oh.
game.
Oh, it's cracker.
Oh, do you know, this does take me back. This is, for those who weren't born, this is very John Pertwee and a bit of Tom Baker. Because it's the Duchess of Duke Street, this is probably Tom Baker time. Bruce Forsyth in the Generation Game, where you got a mum and a son, that kind of generational thing, and they play stupid games, and it was really funny. A great drama with, is it Gemma Crave? Oh, what's she called? Great actress, the Duchess of Duke Street. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Two Ronnies, two great comedy actors. Starsky and Hutch, Gary, of course, the American contingent there.
They always
And then-
seem to stick a U.S. cop show in these schedules.
Yeah, we do. Kojak used to be Monday night. I remember it was Ironside last week, wasn't it? Was it Ironside I had up?
Yep.
I can't remember.
That was last week.
Chips
Yes.
as well.
Yeah. And then Parkinson is our cat. But that, you didn't tune over. I have to say, I remember with Mum and Dad, you would just watch that from 6:10 all the way through to 11:30ish. That was it.
Thing is,
Obviously, I was sent to
when-
bed.
when you look at that listing, you don't need anything after midnight, do you? You know, because it all shut
Nah.
off after that, you know. So that's just quality shows like all the way through, isn't it?
Yeah, you
I
just got,
wish it was like it now.
yeah, and that's what I mean. The nostalgia bit. A time when you weren't streaming at midnight, you weren't sat on
No
your
one is,
own
don't
watching
worry.
stuff. You know, yeah, it is a time, and it's a time that's probably lost.
Yeah.
Okay, well, are you ready? Actually, I might as well ask Rachel on this. So I will give shout outs.
Wait, where's the music? I want the music.
Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Okay.
It's there. It's recorded. I think if you notice my clip from last week, Rachel was almost singing to it. Yes. Here we go.
Was I? I can't remember.
Oh, I nearly did it again. I've done that before. Scary music at the end. Is it boom or is it bust? Rachel, I'll go straight to you because you've done an update today. And while I advertise your channel as well, what was
Thank you.
your debriefing on the latest on Boom?
It was a bust. It wasn't. It had a significant increase according to the Radio Times. There we go. 3.58. They've actually confirmed that the +7 TV only was 3.38 as well.
Sorry, are we
since
talking
then.
about Boom or are we
This
talking
is-
about 73 yards? Sorry.
This is Boom, right?
Oh,
Oh,
sorry,
yeah,
Boom,
I've got
sorry.
that right.
No, because 73 yards hasn't had the 7 day yet.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about 70. Sorry, everybody. Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, and the Radio Times has said that for this episode, obviously, it was a success and it was the highest scoring in the consolidation. However, that is quite a drop off from the 3.91 and the 4.01 from the
Yeah.
consolidation from the previous two episodes. I'm theorizing that maybe 73 yards will actually get to close to the 4 million. But to be honest with you, I would say that Doctor Who is walking a very fine line. The BBC, I think, will be looking for an excuse to stop it.
Stop the show.
I think so.
I think, I've said it on many of our Sunday streams. I do think that the BBC will become needy of the Disney money and not really want to be just relying on its own budget, which is getting cut all the time. Gary, what are your thoughts? I know we had an awful lot this week about this. And by the way, in the thread, we're not going to go mad about the ratings. We do a lot about the ratings. We're just updating you before we go on to our next item.
Well, the
We're
one
as
thing that I
bored as
noticed,
you are.
the one thing I noticed in this one is I'm looking from the plus, as much as they're touting that, the +7 +4 is going to be the salvation of all of this. I noticed that just from the second column to the third one, it's about a 300,000 difference in episode 1. Then that difference falls to about 240,000 for episode 2, and then it's 3.38 for episode 3, that's only 200,000. So basically, episode to episode, that gap or that increase from the +7 TV only to the TV +4 screen is closing every week. I mean, in just 1 week, it went from 300,000 down to 200,000. So they're not getting those +7 viewers.
And with the 73 yards, the future was streaming. And of course, Space Baby's got 140,000 streaming at midnight. And this time with 73 yards, 144,000. So it's not the great thing, is it? I sometimes think they like to get ahead of themselves, these media organizations, ahead of sometimes the people. I mean, who really wants to stream at midnight, really?
Well, that was a stupid move, wasn't it?
I would actually say that 73 yards, as much as people are saying, oh, it's gone up, in 7 days, when the 7 days are released, I think it'll actually have gone down. I think, and my theory is that I think people that were watching it at midnight have now switched to watching it live on a Saturday. And that's why you've had a little bit of a bump up. And I think that when they get to the 7 day releases, you'll find it's dropped as well.
Talk about spoiling all my fun. I theorized that people had come back from touching grass.
Yeah. I can't help it. Brilliant.
Thanks for Gary Lee for these slides. I am recommending him there. So yes, we go heavily. I will come, Sean. Don't worry.
Right.
We do go heavily on the Sunday on the ratings, so don't worry too much if we gloss over these, Sean.
No, when you're looking at ratings and they are like half of what Whittaker was getting, for series like The Flux, which I thought at the time was just horrendous. You this show really is, if all we're doing as a fan base is kind of scrabbling around from both sides, whether you love it or you loathe it or you're in the middle, if all we're talking about is, oh, there's a couple of 100,000 here, there's a couple of 100,000 there. Britain's Got Talent is getting like 4, 5, 6 million. That's been going for years and years and years, and yet people are still watching it. Strictly Come Dancing's wiping the floor. Call a Midwife, wiping the floor. Call a Midwife's been going for years.
Well,
Doctor Who is just dying. It's dead.
All I would say, Brendan, quickly as well, is all these people online that attack you and say, no, the ratings, you're talking nonsense, you're a phobe, you're a doodah, whatever. All I would say is, where are all these people? If these people love it so much, where are those viewers?
Yeah.
Because all we're getting to is we're getting to that critical mass now where literally we're getting to that nailed in number of people that are going to watch it no matter what. They're just not enticing in the general viewers. And as people have joked about, the touch grass comments, they're basically saying get lost to the historic fans.
Where do we stand on this though? Which is, when I get the people saying you're being a bit too negative about the ratings, and the ratings are fine considering where we are with the context and the environment that all of them are competing in. So Gary, are we going too far on this? Because you can see that Doctor Who's 18th there with 73. Sorry, this is for Boom, all the consolidated. But it's surrounded by other programs doing equally bad or equally good. So why are we obsessed with the Doctor Who figure? And the critics of us and other streams who talk about the ratings say, listen, you can't compare to the Jodie Whittaker Legend of Sea Devils and that, because it's a different environment in the media now. People are watching TV differently, Gary.
Well, look, all this is an indication of is the overall popularity of the show among the general public falling, or is it sustaining? Is Shouty a success? And I think that all of this is going to, in my opinion, they're trying to manufacture a narrative with the manipulation of the numbers. They're trying to manufacture the narrative that it's a success. And if it doesn't seem like success, it's because you just need to look at it from another angle. But no, facts are facts. And they're trying to create the idea that the show, and therefore all of the messaging and all the ideology and stuff behind it, is a success. And they can't accept that it's just not as, apparently from these numbers, apparently not as popular as they'd like to lead you to believe.
And Rachel, I mean, you make a good point about if I go back to Coronation Street there. And
Yeah, I hadn't actually looked at this chart until you pulled it up on the screen. I just sort of wham-bammed my video out, you see.
Yeah.
But yeah, Coronation Street, that's been on roughly around the same amount of time as Doctor Who, is still outperforming Doctor Who. And it's never once had any cancellation as of yet in the whole entire time that it's been running on the air. So if that can still outperform it, then Doctor Who's got a lot to live up to, because Corrie's just a soap.
And the other nonsense I get is that Doctor Who has to keep reinventing itself. And as you've just said, the soaps are there. They reinvent themselves slightly with a new producer. That's it.
There's also a very critical element to that, what Rachel said as well. And it's, look at the budget of what probably Coronation Street is to the budget of what it costs to produce Doctor Who now, or they're saying it costs to produce Doctor Who. Doctor Who costs more to produce than Coronation Street does, or a lot of programs. So when people are saying, oh, it's in the top 20, yes, but for the money they're paying out and investing into it, it should be a lot higher up that rung.
However, they also argue the other way, which is Doctor Who it's worthwhile because it brings in a lot more from merchandise, etc. Whereas I don't think
not anymore.
Not anymore.
No. Big Finish is on its knees. The figures aren't selling. All sorts aren't selling. I mean, can I just jump in with to take it outside of Doctor Who for a minute, and let's look at the top 10 watch shows from last year. So top 10 watch shows of last year: The Coronation of the King and Queen Camilla, obviously 12.8 million. Happy Valley, BBC, 11.9 million. Eurovision Song Contest, remember this is last year, BBC, 10.7 million. The Great British Bake Off on Channel 4 in its 20-odd series, 9.7 million. I'm a Celebrity, ITV, 9 million. Planet Earth 3, great show, 8.9 million. Strictly Come Dancing, 8.5. Death in Paradise, which is on about, that's got almost as many main characters as Doctor Who now. That got 8.3. Unforgotten, 8.2. And Wild Isles, 8.2 million. Now, my whole point in going through that lot is, if a show's good, people will turn out for it. They'll either be told word of mouth and they'll come and catch it on the streaming, or they'll watch it on the night, or they'll watch it catch up. You know, this show, no one's talking about the quality. No one, even people I know that I podcast with who I'd consider friends who are watching this show and they try and see it for its positives and don't like discussing the negatives. Even they're like, really, like they're really struggling to see.
I put this up earlier from George Palapahaya. I don't understand the big variations in tone between episodes. They seem to be aimed at wildly different age groups, and I think even those who are saying this era seems to be working, there are massive differences in what's going on. Now, we have promised tonight that we want to lighten the load, to be quite honest. We know what's going on in the new series, so to speak. Go on, Gary.
I have a quick question. So does this mean, from one of the charts, I think it was your top 10 of the week chart on streaming?
Yeah.
So does that mean that after this season's over, that we're going to kind of switch over and we're going to start reviewing Bluey episodes?
Well, yeah, let me just, because it's America, isn't it? The Nielsen figures and all the rest. So here they are. But where's Doctor Who? The Doctor Who seems to be in it for a second and then it falls out of it. But yeah, Bluey, which has been going.
We'll do Bluey.
Yeah, Bluey's been going for years, hasn't it? Grey's Anatomy.
And this is what I said. This is what I said a few weeks ago, to wait for Nielsen, because Disney spin their numbers. I don't trust anything that they put on, even though it wasn't doing great on their own data. But this just shows again that when they're trying to push that worldwide reach, the worldwide reach isn't there. People are not interested in it.
No, and as we have said, a lot of those programs have been going for years. So Doctor Who should whop them all because it's fresh, it's new, and it's been marketed freshly as well.
I just think what they need to do, honestly, and then I know we're going to move on, I think they just need to change the name of the show to Bluey Box, because then the kids will be confused and they'll click on the wrong show when trying to find Bluey, and then the numbers will go up.
maybe you've got the recipe there. TARDIS Travels, and it's a Doctor Who light at the moment with 2 episodes, not having much shooting in yet. We will mention later on. Let me just remind you of the nighttime activities. That sounds dodgy, that, of what we're going to be doing here. So basically, in a moment, we're going to be looking at our first tranche of our favorite episode 1s from Classic Who. So please join us in that one, and we'll have a little bit of a friendly debate about that. Then we will obviously be looking at, we've got a few joke items right in the middle, just have a quick laugh as well. Then we've got the time flash with Silence in the Library. We have a few more part 1s, and we will, of course, then do a bit of a preview of Dot and Bubble 2. So, you know, we've got a bit of everything, but mostly we want to have a nice kind of reflection on the past 2, because that's what keeps a lot of people going. And when I did my stream the other day with Jeremy, one of my panelists, who's, I am turning my back on new Doctor Who. Have a look at it if you haven't seen it already. He goes through very calmly why. He's not a ranter. He's not somebody who, has cancelled George or anything. He's watched them all. But, he has his reasons, like a lot of people who are either holding on or not. Right. Here we go then. Everybody knows. There we go. We're going to be looking tonight then at the magic of part 1s, Classic Who. And just to keep Gary happy, I tried to make sure I could do another kind of effect. Won't be as good as my last one. Of course.
It's great.
That was the last one, of course. But part 1s, they're very special, aren't the part 1s? Part 1s set the mood, build the world. They normally don't give much away. And there's a beauty to them.
You're getting very good at these, aren't you? They really are good.
This is terrific.
I do enjoy them. I do enjoy them. Yeah. I mean, it keeps my little brain happy.
I may hire you as my title card maker.
Yeah, because look at me. I'm basically Tom in the bottom corner, like looking up at you, going, "Come on, how the hell have you managed to do this?"
It's my favourite part of the job, I have to say, is making these things. I should have done art at school. I thought I was rubbish at all this stuff. Right. Okay. Well, as Gary said to the other day as we were chatting, we've picked our favourites, but we left this one alone, because if you don't mention episode 1 of An Unearthly Child, you can't be a Doctor Who fan. That set the template. That's well, it's actually a very good part 1 as well, because it introduces all the key characters and who the hell is Doctor Who, and the Totters Lane, the school, the unearthly child. We had enough time in the TARDIS for the first time. We had the longest takeoff in the program's history, which I would love to see again, done with not different effects, but I'd just love to see again. And that full sequence of the special sound effects, and then to land on, it looked like you were on another planet. We didn't know, did we? We just didn't know at that point. But no, it's that mystery. And of course, the Doctor wasn't likable then, which was, I loved. I think kids love the anti-hero. They don't want somebody who's all soppy and drippy and, I feel what you feel. So anybody on Unearthly Child? I mean, John, I should come to you first, because your channel, which has just launched, let me give you another plug there.
Thank you very much.
Everybody go and have a look at it. Your first program was An Unearthly Child, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it was an absolute joy going back and reviewing it, because like you, I just love this story. As we talked about on the review, a lot of people do sort of think after episode 1, they think, oh, it's not too great afterwards. But when you look at the characterization, and how Hartnell nails it in this story, because, for this to work, there was a lot riding on him, and he just knocks it out of the park. But Ian and Barbara are just, really likable characters right from the off, and it just works brilliantly. And I agree with you, Brendan. The Doctor, just how horrible he is to start with, and as I've said, he's the only Doctor to date that has tried to electrocute someone at the console.
Yeah. Kidnap.
Yeah. And I do love when they do the takeoff. I do love the fact that it looks like it's actually a traumatic experience for all of them.
Yeah.
Yes. It was an emergency takeoff, kind of.
Yeah.
Great.
Great.
Gary, fond memories?
I just, you know, what I can't help thinking about whenever I watch this episode is what it must have been like for the British public and kids that first time that Ian and Barbara run through the doors, because what the ship looked like, if I'm correct, wasn't in any of the pre-publicity. They just had an adventure in time and space. They didn't spoil things like they do today. So that scene, that shock scene when they burst through the door and the British public get their first look at this ship, I can't even imagine what they thought when they saw that.
Yeah.
That must have just been absolutely amazing.
One thing I've just remembered as well that I didn't talk about in mine is it's quite interesting when you see the Doctor go to the TARDIS and he's unlocking it, he actually pulls the lock off. If you watch it again carefully, he pulls it and it almost flicks down a little bit for him to get into the TARDIS, which obviously changes. But yeah, if you watch it back, he pulls it out of the TARDIS a little bit.
What worked for you best in this one, Rachel, when you see it? What made it a really good part one?
Turn your mic on, love. The fact that the Doctor was so unlikable but likable at the same time. I love William Hartnell. I just think he just they didn't have long to introduce it, right? So he just said it was just like, here you go, this is what you're getting, let's get on with it. And off they go. And talking about the three companions, I actually think they handle the three companions really, really well. There's in much later years, they always said the formula of the three companions doesn't work, but it actually does. You just got to know what you're doing with it. And they knew what they were doing with it here. Everyone had equal amounts of time. They didn't have to be separated from the Doctor or anything like that. And I like the fact that his Doctor's a bit of a manipulator as well. And he totally plays into that fact. And you can tell that Hartnell's having a brilliant time with it.
It's the close-up.
Really enjoying it.
It's the close-ups, Rachel, as well, with talking about how good an actor he is when he's close up to the camera and he's doing these little facial expressions to the camera.
Yeah.
He's so good.
And they didn't have much time to film in those days. And he was a bit of a line flubber.
Yeah.
And he just always covered it so well whenever he bugged it up and, getting a surname wrong and things like that. He just ran with it and then ended up making it part of the character. When that started out, it was just a total mistake.
I'd love to, Sean, have you seen this?
Oh, a while ago.
Right, well, that's cool. I'm just saying, none of us were there. I'm just checking. None of us were there at live when it was on. And so we've all come to this late when some of the myth has been built up. I still would love to have known what it was like. Colin Baker and some of the actors say they were stood by the stairs with their uni mates watching this and mesmerized by the music, mesmerized by what was wrong with this school kid. And then that moment that none of us understood when the police box was in a scrapyard and then ended up what looked like an alien planet or somewhere else. I can imagine that really took every kid for a ride. I could imagine that. And I'm not just saying that now because I know Doctor Who's worked. Sean, what did it work for you on when you saw it?
Yeah, I mean, it's, going back to classic Who after you're a kid who grew up with New Who, or that was what Doctor Who was to you. It's a lot slower. It's more old-fashioned, but the characters are really, really rich. And going back and watching them, even if an episode doesn't work for you, or the villains are not your thing, or it's not really your thing, because they're not all winners. Let's not kid ourselves and say they were all absolute pearlers. But you watch it and it's made with such love. And yes, at times, not all the time, but it does look a little bit wobbly. It does look a little bit cheap. But, you look past that because the writing's so good. And, I watched Remembrance of the Daleks on the Rabbi from Another Planet's channel not long ago. And I loved that. And I said during that conversation, I've known Doctor Who twice now in times when it feels like it's failing and it feels like it's close to being cancelled, or, it kind of half was when Whittaker was. And if there is a God, it'll be cancelled soon. You're watching it, but watching like that episode, that run, you're thinking this does not feel like a show coming towards the end, but and I'm lucky I've got the Damons up there ready to watch, and it's you go back. I was talking to John. Sorry, I'll talk. See, this is what I'm like when I'm positive. I can. So I was talking to John earlier about messaging last night. I think gushing about Star Trek Enterprise, but we were talking about the Damons, and I'm lucky because I get to go back and watch these old episodes new. And you watch them, and they're so good, and you think it's no wonder like the new stuff just looks even worse in comparison.
Like Paul Richards is saying here, An Unearthly Child was so good, it was creepy and mysterious. I was about to say about why in so many ways this was a very strong, effective part one. The fog and the mist at the beginning, and the humming of the police box. Remember, in the 60s,
serious, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
people would have thought, why
point.
is it humming? I mean, the thing is, that's a police box. It's not supposed to be humming like it's a machine. So there was a lot of questions. I would have thought loads of questions being asked by viewers as it built up. And then, of course, they set it up. A child is unearthly, who said strange things in a history lesson, strange things in science lessons.
You see,
go on, John.
I was going to say, if it was done now, I know what they would do. Where you've got Ian and Barbara there watching the Doctor from a distance, it would be written like they would have a little joke between each other while it was going on. That's how they would do it now. And Sean is absolutely right. They play it serious all the way through, and it just builds and it just keeps getting better. And I think where we've talked before about shooting and about looking for that Doctor moment, Sean is right. There's some not great stories in the classic Who era, but I'll always watch them because I would guarantee there's normally a Doctor moment in one of those stories, even if the story isn't very good. I don't see that where we are now, but I can always go back and enjoy all of them.
Well, let's do this lovely nostalgia. So that was our first one, because why would we not mention that? Because we're looking at the magic of Doctor Who Part 1. So in the thread, I've seen a few. I've seen some mention Deadly Assassin Part 3, which was our show that was shown on Friday. Have a look at it. But basically, what would you say? So I'll come to one of our panel next. So let's see if I can take them by surprise, because the next one is not that one. I love my colour reconstructions. I can't help it. Sorry. The next one is John.
Oh, John. It's me. Day of the Daleks, episode 1. It's just a big favourite of mine. I love the beginning of it where a politician's going to get assassinated. Then there's a strange sound. And then the guerrilla soldier's running with fear on his face with a close-up cam. Then the wonderful moment where you see an Ogron pop up out of nowhere and just knock him out. Yeah. It just keeps getting better and better. I love the fact you've got one of my favourite scenes in Who is where you've got the Doctor tinkering with the TARDIS console with Joe there. Then you've got another Doctor and another Joe, and all of this is building me with this episode 1, and I'm like, I want more of it. I want more of it. And you don't get to see a lot of the Daleks in episode 1. It's building everything up, and if nobody has seen it, you must go and watch it, Sean.
I've got the DVD ready to watch, and you can come and talk about it if you want.
And this is the proper first time. Never mind Stephen Moffat. They did timey-wimey. The Blinovich limitation effect, cleverly thought out by a script editor and by the producer, who sat down saying, how do we do a shortcut that doesn't bore everybody rigid, sounds good, but does actually explore it? And that's why you mentioned, John, we have that scene at the top there where they're jumping time. Yeah.
And one of my things I say, I've heard this term before, and it's called gear porn. And I love in this story, you've got where you have a little miniature dematerialization circuit for the little miniature time machines that the gorillas are using. I love it. It's just, it's a perfect story.
And of course, they make you what you said. You don't see the Daleks much, and of course, Day of the Daleks. It was the first time for gosh, 7 years, I think. We'd
Yeah.
waited a long time. Or was it 5 years? It was a long time.
Different voices.
Different voices. Does anybody want to give a shout out to Day of the Daleks? We don't have to go around the panel because it's your chosen favourite, so to speak. But does anyone have any addition to say?
Just a good choice.
It's better than Time Lash.
I
Well, I don't know.
love it
Skyfall
because,
Part 1.
because
I'm sorry.
unless I'm mistaken, this is really
It
the
was sick.
first time that the show actually dealt with time paradoxes, where the story was built around a time paradox. And it's unfortunate that I know that at the end we were going to get the reverse of that scene that's at the top right. It's in the Target novel,
Yeah.
but they didn't put it at the end of the 4th episode where we see that first scene again from the different perspective. But it's terrific. And then I can't think of his name. The guy who played the controller, who was also the guy who ran the candy store in the original Willy Wonka movie.
Well, I actually call him David Cameron because I always think the controller looks like David Cameron, our former Prime Minister. He looks very similar. Looky likey.
Talking to his overlords.
Yeah. But
Aubrey Woods.
Aubrey Woods.
Yeah.
Aubrey Woods, that's it. I'll just say Barry.
Sunrise. Sorry.
It needs much work. Honestly, we can't detox from the present day Doctor Who, can we? But what I'm intrigued by in the thread is so many people are roughly my age. Michael Nemo says this was the first one who he ever saw. I didn't see the complete version of this. We're on holiday in Torquay in a caravan with a black and white portable, and I think them attacking the mansion with their 2.5 Daleks.
Yeah.
And I was scared to death. two and a half
And
Daleks.
nobody's mentioned the groovy kind of land. What do you call it, John? The
wasteland
motorcycle he was on.
Yeah, on the quad bike. Yeah, that's great. With Katie trying to keep her skirt up.
Yeah,
that must have been so bad for Katie. That shot.
Now we've got Shouty dancing in one. So
detox.
sorry.
Yeah.
So
that's a good choice.
Right, so there we go. That sparked a lot of interest from people. So the next one we have is Tomb.
Yes, this one's mine. The Tomb of the Cybermen. Well, first of all, I thought about this and I was like, well, I'm going to choose some that has some first. So the Tomb of the Cybermen was the first Patrick Troughton adventure that I had ever seen. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I might have this wrong, but is this the first time we learn the Doctor's age?
Oh.
Because he says he's 405, but I'm not entirely sure.
I think we do, because I think Victoria says about him, you need rest, basically, because of how old you are, something like that. Yeah.
And it was obviously the first time for me to also see Victoria, who is lovely. And, well, I'm also going to say this. So we know at the start of the episode, because the title comes along the screen, that it's going to be the Cybermen, right? And even early on in the episode, they address it really early that it's going to be the Cybermen. We just don't know when we're going to get them. Yeah. It's also the first use of the Cybermen in this particular series for Pat Troughton. And I'm going to say this. I think this particular episode has one of the best cliffhangers in Doctor Who. So it's where Jamie is fiddling with the controls and they're looking at the time warping thing I can't think what you call it. Bear with me, I've not been very well. And he's fiddling with it, and then suddenly a Cyberman shoots out of nowhere right in front of him, really in front of Hayden really fast, and Hayden gets shot in the back. And the cliffhanger is we think this is an actual Cyberman when it's not. Sorry, spoilers, Sean. I am so sorry.
I've seen this one. You're all right. I've seen this one.
We've got Lex Kane's TV movie reviews, excellent Cybermen, and just agreeing with you, brilliant cliffhanger.
Fantastic.
And this is the beauty of it. I mean, come on, every 3, 4, 5 weeks, 6 weeks sometimes, they change the story. They needed a good, strong cliffhanger to get you into the new story.
Yeah.
It has to be a good episode 1.
Yeah.
To tune in. Classic serialized behavior. I don't know about you guys, but when you saw Tomb of the Cybermen, and you do really think of this, the magic of part 1, we've seen quarries before, we've seen all the usual stuff. There was something about the filming that made it look like it was a proper film. I think that had a real. Did you think that? And it was probably just the same old quarry.
Yeah, it's the atmosphere, isn't it? That's these old episodes. They have atmosphere. They're serious. Even they could be a little bit silly, but they're serious. They take themselves seriously. Say seriously, Mark.
But it's like it's a lot about the multi levels. It's like they're above looking down as they kind of blast and everything, and it's not just everybody on the same level. They create a scope by having people outside on different levels, and then the Doctor, Jamie, and Victoria come around the rock and everything. So the way they film it gives you the feel that of this huge, wide open space.
And I think episode 1, I think it's got probably one of my favourite lines from the Doctor in all of Doctor Who history, and where the what's his name's talking to him, and he goes, "Oh, I've got my own unique logic," and he sarcastically says, "Oh yeah, and what would that be?" And he goes, "Keeping my eyes open and my mouth shut." It's just brilliant, and how can you not love the second Doctor just from that?
He was so deadpan with it as well.
And again, that's what I mean. When you talk about Doctor moments, that's a Doctor moment for me.
And the beauty was, there were quite a lot of deaths in this early on. I mean, you had the electrocution on the doors. As a kid, it's a bit like the joke always with Star Trek, wasn't it? That the person who you didn't recognize in the red and the blue and when you had the certain coloured vest, you thought they're going to die. In this
the one thing I remember most about this story that I'm going to mention is just the beyond iconic music. When they're coming out of the tomb, it's like bum 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 wah 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 bum 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 bum. That's just great.
Am I going to be copyrighted now? No.
Probably not. But for the first introduction to Pat Troughton, I think this is probably a really good place to start. And if I've got this correct, I think this was also the first time seeing this. No, it wasn't. I've got that incorrect. Don't just ignore that. But we do know that the Cybermen were one of the. No, just shut up, Rachel. I don't know.
The night nurses.
I don't know where I'm going with that. I lost my thought.
Yeah, and
this was the third Cyberman story overall, and it's the second Troughton Cyberman.
Yeah.
And I do love the little bit as well.
That's what I was getting wrong. I forgot.
I know that's what you were going to say.
Yeah.
I know that's what you were trying to say.
And they talk about
fake fan.
They talk about
totally.
When Victoria comes out and she's got the dress on, and I love it. And she's going, "It's a little bit short," and the Doctor's like, "Don't worry about it. Look at Jamie's."
That was hilarious. A dress her in something more suitable, Jamie. Okay, so he dresses her.
And that little bit of business they do as when they walk inside and Victoria's still outside, and they go back in and grab her and bring her back in. That little bit of business.
Oh, there's the characterization, and actually all that cast, we'll kill them off one by one. And I think it was before the days when you would have been cynical as a viewer, going, they've got a big cast, they're not going to last through the first episode. Some of these, they're there just to be killed. The other thing is, because we're doing Silence in the Library later, one little kind of link is, I love a Doctor Who where they're doing archaeology. You can have Earthshock, you can have Silence in the Library. I love an archaeology team in Doctor Who. You just know you're up to chaos and trouble. So that's a really good one. Again, it's got the thread going. I mean, is it getting you all feeling good? Do you want us to do more of this once a week when we're sick of talking about New Who and whether it's
gives me an excuse to just watch one episode?
Just get the joy.
To watch a good episode. It's such a nice palate cleanser.
So this time, Ark in Space, Part 1.
Oh, is this me?
This
is the first one that came to mind when I thought of this, because this is the first, to me, this is the first real proper Tom Baker, where it's not a Pertwee story with Tom Baker in it like Robot was. It really is kind of showcasing everything that was great with Tom Baker. And this is one of the very, very few episodes of the entire classic series where the only characters in this episode are the three regulars, no one else. And just by themselves, they're able to handle this whole thing as they wander around the station. You have Sarah getting beamed away. So, you get a lot of really good interplay with, the Doctor and Harry, with the little security machine, Harry's, we try to share his shoes and the cricket ball and all this stuff. And that goes on for a while. And of course, we get the fact that this is the beginning of Tom Baker's second story, and already I think what can be considered one of his best Doctor moments already, which is the, humanity, they're indomitable, which is just absolutely so well written and so well delivered. And we're 5 episodes in and we've already got one of the all-time great Doctor moments. And the scope of it with the multi-level hibernation chambers as they look up, you get the scope of it. And then the great cliffhanger with the Wern body falling onto Harry and everything. It's just great. The Doctor, Sarah, and Harry are my all-time favorite classic team, bar none. So I love this story.
I agree, and the thread I feel in the love too. Oh, isn't this so much nicer than waffling on about something that's just been on and whether it got 2 people watching or 3? We've got love the scene in Ark in Space when the Doctor uses his scarf as his distraction for the laser beam. That's Lex Kane's TV and movies reviews. I know, like you said, that was a really good team. I loved the way the Doctor and Harry were kind of tense with each other all the time. I loved the way Sarah and Harry were a bit funny with each other. Don't you patronize me and all that.
Yeah,
it was great.
The doctor's ticked off. It's like, well, I didn't expect him to twist the helmet regulator. That kind of thing. So,
and yes, that speech, as Mr. Wick says, the indomitable that you've just said, great body horror in this one, and as we've mentioned, Roger. I mean, let's get the designer his name right, wasn't it? Roger Murray Leach, wasn't it?
Roger Murray Leach, yeah.
Oh my gosh! I mean, you said the set. I remember being, I think, was I about 6? I have to say, I felt as though this was a serious grown-ups program. Sometimes with Doctor Who, it was for me. But when Ark in Space was on, I remember my dad was very focused on this. I remember at the time the reviews were that the adults loved this because it seemed like serious sci-fi. And the kids could have the monsters and the adults could have the serious sci-fi. And it was just serious. It's a classic, as you say there, Richard Brown, agreeing with Gary.
This is an example as well, Brendan, though, we've talked about it before. This story is a classic example of when now they say, oh, we've got to have Disney because we've got to have the budget to do it, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. You have a good script, you have good actors, and then you have a good production team working on it. And these people were working on a shoestring, and look what they came up with. It's superb, and this beats anything that New Who's done, in my opinion.
What do we keep saying in all our streams? We keep saying, don't talk down to kids like space babies. Talk up to, well, I'm trying to get the right round. They have to come up to you. The dialogue is pitched above them. I always go on about Genesis of the Daleks. I had to learn words to understand what half of this stuff was. I didn't know what genocide was at the age of 6. So to really get on top of the language, Davros uses very complex language. So I agree. I mean, Barry, you say that must have been scary as a 6-year-old. You were at secondary school. So what scared you in the 60s Doctor Who, I'm guessing, or the earlier 70s Doctor Who? Because, like Cinnamon, who comes on our channel, he always says Midnight was his one that really scared him. And it was New Who. That was his access point. So It always intrigues me. These are my comfort blankets, and
Yeah.
these are really key moments. Sean, have you seen this one?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you must be dying to see. You see, I think even the model Nerva Beacon, don't change it. It's a great set. It's a great set. It's a great model. Obviously, they repeated it for Revenge of the Cybermen with a few different touches.
Right.
Rachel,
Well,
have you-
this is substance over old Doctor Who and even New
Yeah.
Who is substance over style. New Doctor Who is style over substance.
Yeah. For the
That's
most
the
part.
problem. End of
Yeah.
story. My
And-
eyes.
and none of us at the time, unless I suppose you're an adult, said, "Oh, that's bubble wrap," and "Oh my god, what a cheap." No, I was scared of that slug. I
Yeah.
was scared. Every time you come to this arc, this Nerva Beacon, you had the plague in Revenge of the Cybermen, dead bodies everywhere. In this one, everybody was all frozen. I tell you what, as a kid, they took no prisoners, did they? With kids, you're going, they freeze people? What? With a giant insect eating you from the inside out, because the dialogue tells you exactly
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
that. Whoa.
And one of the many reasons why I'll always prefer classic over new is because this is one of the great stories where the Doctor doesn't know everything when he comes in. He goes, "Oh yeah, clearly this is one of the arcs that went up in the 25th century. Oh yeah, and that's the worm. On planets they, which is what they do if that happened now." He would rattle off every fact, and it would be a tell don't show. Whereas he doesn't know about the worm. He doesn't even really find out about how they got there until he puts the little kind of electrodes later, where he kind of like links his mind.
Yeah.
That's how he finds out. So as the Doctor is finding out stuff, so are we. Whereas now it's like he comes and rattles off every single fact that we need to know in shorthand because we only have 45 minutes.
I
And
mean,
isn't it-
this. I was going to say, sorry, Brendan.
Yeah,
This was ahead of Alien.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alien gets heralded as being sensational, but this did it a few years earlier. Same
And
concept,
And
effectively, isn't it?
it's a funny one, is it? Because I'm trying not to mention everything that happens in it. I'm trying to think of part one, thinking, right, yeah. Because obviously later on, one of my scariest scenes, breaking my own rules, is that, the where they were all nesting.
Yeah, that's it. I was going to say to you, the rule I
Oh.
learned in life: never ever go to check the solar stacks.
No,
That's right.
no. And poor Sarah, I have to say, you see, when you think of the Doctor showing utter respect for humanity, as Gary said in that great indomitable speech, his respect and awe of humanity, and then you get Space Beast. Sorry, am I getting the names right? The Star Beast.
Space babies.
In Star Beast, the pronoun stuff, and you're thinking the levels we've gone to. This was adult.
Yeah.
Right. I think. Well, of course, these are good choices. These are next one's mad choice. I'm sorry. I can't escape Robots of Death. Everybody goes, well, that's a classic as well. But part one, I loved everything from it. I loved the model. I loved the fact that they built the world and introduced the world so quickly to you, didn't they? You knew very quickly because they had that great camera shot when you went into the kind of control desk from outside. You saw all these robots. You see that although it was called Robots of Death, the robots were all walking around very calm, all very beautiful. And so you thought, oh, it's called Robots of Death, but they're all just walking around and everything's calm. And the TARDIS being in the scoop and the TARDIS being caught there, and that moment when Leela and the Doctor, if they didn't get back in time, were going to be diced to pieces by all the grit coming in. They're all little moments, and then that lovely sound. We talk about sounds in Day of the Daleks, and that that lovely sound that they make to open the door. That there's just lovely touches, and I think as a Doctor Who kid fan at the time, it was amazing to just see this cast and they're all lounging around, and it wasn't what I was expecting from my little Doctor Who sci-fi. Everybody was calm, everybody was talking to each other. I wasn't picking up on this robot did that, I wasn't picking up on the threat there. I just thought, gosh, this is all very kind of calm. Then, of course, you got bits of tension. And then, of course, robot, and then the marker, and then the red eyes. And as a kid, this was fab. You were looking for the one robot, weren't you? And the way you get it's like a silent assassin, isn't it? It's a bit, and that slow murderer. The murderer just slowly comes to get you and slowly just strangles you. Oh, that's chilling. And yes, there's loads of people in the thread. I have to say now, yes, I had to show D84. As a kid, D84, it wasn't K9. It wasn't K9. I wanted D84 as my mate. I loved D84.
Yeah.
I wanted D84 to join the TARDIS crew. I loved his calm voice. And you know, when he was down, he was a bit Marvin, wasn't he? I've let you down. Do. Oh, honestly, he had everything. I could go on and on and on about this story and the dialogue and when the doctor's there, you know, when they arrive and it's you two, they always suspect.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which crew member who takes them on, and the doctor just pulls him apart with his grammar. And oh God, absolutely. Tom's on the top of his game. Leela, as you know, I love in this one because you've got robots and then you've got a savage. And you see that lovely juxtaposition of how she plays on instinct and then the robots do what they do. I love it. You know, creepy mechanical men. And of course, in part 1, we got the great explanation of how the TARDIS works. Very clever writing, because as a kid, I understood it.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
I finished.
Yeah, no, it's that TARDIS, you know, that was as a kid, that was, well, still now it's great, isn't it? You know, just have it over there and have it here and it'll fit inside the small one. Great. Just
clever.
Yeah.
The only thing that ever really sticks with me in this story is the eyes.
Yeah.
It's like I have only ever watched this once. This was years ago, but the eyes, I just remember all the time.
Yeah. They're great.
Red.
You'll understand why a bit later when I talk about something else, but
the one thing, since we're focusing just on part 1, I've got to say, Chris Boucher in the first 5 minutes of the show is a case study in how just through set design and dialogue, you can build an entire world in the audience's mind. In the first 5 minutes, we know everything we need to know about this world, from, as you said, Brendan, the way that they're just kind of lounging on the ornate furniture and letting the robots do all the work. You can tell that they're all laissez-faire about, you know, everything. You know, comments about, you know, bonuses, and that one crew member's her family had been, you know, she was obligated to Ivanov now, and just in the first 5 minutes, I've never seen in Doctor Who a more effective world building in such a short time, because we know pretty much everything important to know about this society, and the Doctor hasn't even shown up yet.
And again, it's because we were saying the other day about whether we're going to do the part 1s, and I said, do any of you in the panel, do any of you in the thread, sometimes just as a guilty pleasure, just watch a part 1 of a favorite Doctor Who, a part 1 that sets up the mystery, is very exciting, doesn't give it all away, brilliant crescendo cliffhanger. Because I tell you what, this is one I could do all the time. And the people in the thread have said, lovely Pamela Sale. It was actually a very good cast, actually. Very good cast. But of course, you mentioned Chris Boucher. The name, Toos. A beautiful sound, Toos. And I remember as a kid, Toos.
And you know what I love as well? In the first couple of minutes, they write in effectively how strong and powerful the robots are. Because you got that scene in the bottom corner there, where he's talking to him and he's basically saying, and twisted his arm off, you know, and so it's basically saying these things are really powerful, just to establish, you know, they are quite indestructible.
Well, we've got a good thread. Kelly Lynch and Greg Smith are saying yes. These were so iconic designs that Voyager the Damned did kind of copy them a bit, didn't it? Really. It did. Can't be the original film. Yeah. Very clever idea to
Yeah.
go against kind, wasn't it, really? So that's our first round. Please join in because we'll have a second round of our favorite part ones. I just want to kind of jazz it up a bit. So now this is very fast for your panel. And anyone new to our channel, the Who puppets come on sometimes, but it's an early bed for them this week. I'm not happy with them. They're grounded and everything, but they have been working hard. So I'm going to ask the panel some quick questions. Thread. They like to reenact lots of Doctor Who stories. Now, here we go. Let's have a look. So can anybody quickly in the panel, you've got to go fast. The one on the top left, what story are they reenacting from Doctor Who? Which one in the middle? Which one on the right? There's 5 there. Any guesses straight away? We're doing seconds on this just as a kind of intro.
Top left is 2 Doctors.
Well done.
Yeah.
My lovely pond. In the middle, you've
Revenge
got
of the Cybermen.
That's it. Nobby the Nobot is playing a Cyberman in the Planet of Gold.
Creature from the Pit on the right.
Of course, very phallic.
Last of the Time Lords, bottom right.
Yes.
Is
when
bottom
the
John?
Yeah.
I was going to say that.
And bottom left, Face of Evil.
Oh, we've got you
Is
on
it
this
Ice
one.
Warriors?
Yeti.
It's the
Yeah,
Yeti.
it is. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
The Star Beast.
I got one in.
Yeah, well, if you really look at it, we were really good. We've got grey cushions for the Welsh slate. I know it was supposed to be Himalayas. You've got the dog coat that we used to have put around Walkie to make him look as though he's wrapped up. And then you've got the TARDIS in the background as if it's at the top of the Himalayas. So there you go.
Oh, yeah,
we're in Tibet. We're in Tibet, of course we were. So just so you warmed up for a second while everybody's having their little tea break, what was this one again? Which Doctor Who episode was this?
Is he vomiting?
That's me watching this season.
yeah. Planet of Evil.
More up to date.
Oh. Like New Who up to date.
Yes.
Wow.
Satan Pit.
The Satan Pit, yeah, the loo. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
The Satan Pit.
Oh my God, it's a toilet. Oh, that's disgusting.
I know. I do anything, for laughs. Right. And Nat, you've just got to look at the visuals and squint and maybe be under the influence or something. I don't know. I mean, I was trying to do something from very recently.
Is it a Jodie Whittaker story?
Oh, is it Wild Blue Yonder?
Yes. You see, Gary's on my way.
Oh, well, I wouldn't have got that because
Long Corridor.
I was going to say my very strong opinions on Wild
Stick to
Blue
the
Yonder.
graphics, Brendan.
And what
No,
about
these
this
are
one?
great.
What about this one on
Oh.
top of our microwave?
Waiting for lunch.
We need to keep those vents clear,
Is it-
Brendan. Keep those
is it
vents
a
clear.
Is it a Pertwee story?
No, again, go. I'll say Chris Eccleston.
Oh no! Wait. Is it? Is it where he's given the presentation in the Slitheen? Is it Aliens of London? Aliens? Is it that one? When he's
No, just look at the visual. I tried my best. What does that look like?
I know, it's Dalek, is it?
Well, Dalek was going around in my head, but I didn't think that it.
If I said
There's only 13. We'll guess them all.
if I said end of the world,
Oh, is that the Cassandra?
that's
Oh.
Lady Cassandra.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
That's not bad, that's
All
not
right.
bad. You could have drawn a smiley face in it. That
She
would
looks
help.
much younger.
Moisturize me.
Oh God! So there you go. Right. Okay.
No, that
So-
was good.
Well, I like to try and keep. Some people might just want cheering up, and so that's my aim tonight. Right. So time flash. Ooh, what we're going to be looking at tonight? Well, I've advertised it heavily, so if you don't know, where the hell have you been? Yep, the firing pistol's gone off on our time flash. 16 years this week, the 31st of May, 2008, and we had 6.27 million people in Britain watching Silence in the Library, a rare two-parter in New Who. Does this take you back? I've just put one of the dialogue up there. 4,022 were saved, no survivors. David Tennant's doctor discovered, which doesn't make sense as you first read it. But yes, actually I have to say this was one of my favorites in this in this period. I don't know about you.
Yeah. Oh, do you want me to talk? Yes, it was. Yeah, I was just agreeing with you. I actually think this is a story that shows off Catherine Tate's acting chops. Believe it or not, she did train in acting, even though she went into comedy. So it was great to actually see her doing something that wasn't comedy. I mean, I know she started out with that, but I like this, and I'll just go through the reasons that I like it. Unseen alien creature, Vashnarada, that can rip the body back to a skeleton. I mean, that for a child, that's got to be intense, you know. I couldn't imagine watching that as a child. Just freaked me right out.
It was beautiful, but it was
very dark, isn't it?
It was very Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. I've listed something else, which I think is actually for the second episode. That was me just being tired. But I say we see the demise of River Song before we know she's going to be a semi-regular. So we already know what's going to happen to her. But that's obviously in the second episode. And I've written here, the sonic screwdriver fails the doctor. Lol. And first major hint that something really bad is actually going to happen to Doctor when to Donna, sorry, when River Song goes, "You're Donna Noble. I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And she played that so well. Like the look of shock on her face, and then Catherine Tate's reaction to it was just like, well, where am I? What happens? Yeah. Oh man. I love this episode. One of Moffat's best. Shame he couldn't take inspiration for Boom, but that's another story.
Let's not drag the tone down too far.
I'll shut up.
I'm trying to just desperately keep it on. I mean, no, it's the Vashnarada. It's less about the creatures. It's more the fear of the dark. That speech where the doctor says, nearly every species in the galaxy has an irrational fear of the dark. But it's not the dark, it's the Vashnarada. And it's all about, we've all done it, where you've turned the lights off as a kid and you've run up the stairs, but there's no one there, but you still do it. And I just love that idea that, is it linked into people going missing and stuff like that? Just really quite dark, and it like unfolds as well, because they're in the library, but then you have like Dr. Moon, the amazing Colin Salmon, Mark Dexter as the dad, the little girl, and you're trying to figure out, well, we know the doctor's real and Donna's real, so who's this little girl? And obviously, I know it's a two-parter, so it unfolds into that.
Yeah.
You've got River Song, who knows the doctor, but he doesn't seem to know her at all. So you're trying to, like, understand what's going on. Like, you're a bit suspicious of her, like the doctor is. The doctor's quite emotional in this for him. To the point where, I know it's the next episode, but River Song kind of calls him out on it. But it's just such a, it's such a good episode, and the doctor tries to get rid of Donna. I used to love in the old series where he would see a situation was going way out of his control and he'd try and send the companion away. He did it with Rose in The Parting of the Ways. He did it again with this, with Donna, trying to kind of get her out of the way, or here, this is what you do, go do this and this will fix it, just to kind of get them out of the way. I don't mind dying, but you can't, type thing. And, and then when you watch this in retrospect, it just gets better, because Alex Kingston as Dr. Rivers Song is just unbelievable, because she walks in and she's just like, hello, sweetie. And you put that up against all the others, and, Moffat must have given her a good talk, because she plays it like she's done it a million times before. And you know that she has, but she hasn't yet. So it's just, the data ghosting is, it's just such grown-up writing, isn't it? I'll keep going, but it's just...
No, that's the that's what Alan Rickman did for Severus Snape. He had to ask, he needed one thing to go on so that he could play it correctly. And so J.K. Rowling told him, this is why you need to do this. And that's how he ended up playing it so brilliantly. And she does, I mean, River Song's not my favorite character, but she is really good. Alex Kingston.
Yeah.
Can I just say,
Steve,
do you think RTD and Bad Wolf have got one of those in their studios and offices right now, and it's going around going, 2.2 million viewers been saved.
What with Catherine Tate Space?
Well, it could have. Oh, I don't know. You ask them.
Doctor Who has left the
See
top
funny
10.
side.
Doctor Who has been saved. Yeah, that
Doctor Who-
ending's just awesome, isn't it?
Doctor Who is no
Yeah.
more. Doctor Who is
You
no
play it
longer.
so
a bad
deadpan. You play it so deadpan.
It's a very good cliffhanger since we've been talking about part ones and cliffhangers. It's
And again,
very dramatic.
Yeah.
So grown up, isn't it? Like you were saying, Brendan, and like we were all saying about Classic Who, that I don't know, I've not seen much of it yet, but you know, this part of New Who where it's so grown up, like that scene where the Doctor, you know, Donna's saying, "Oh, is that a real face? Oh, it's a hologram, isn't it?" Because this is the 53rd century, Captain Jack's time, and you're kind of watching it, and he's like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." And then it gets revealed to her that these are people's faces that they've donated, like a park bench. And she's like, "Oh my God, it's got a real face." And it shows me a real face that I think I'd like. And I like love that difference in, like, you know, 30 centuries or whatever it is. That difference between, well, yeah, you know, that's nothing nowadays. Like, don't worry about
It's
it.
a creepy line as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, it's just great. And again, you get the actors surrounding them as well. The one who plays Miss Evangelista, the one who plays Bob, who's, I can't remember the guy's name, but he plays Ray Purchase in Toast. He's great as well. He's been in all sorts.
I love the space. I love the space suits as well, because when I first watched it, I thought it just reminded me of Ambassadors of Death when they come in for the first time.
Yes.
So I thought that was really nicely done. But I think I love the way Moffat is seeding stuff into his series that are coming, because he'd been obviously he was producer without it being announced, I think, at the time.
He was, yeah.
And I love the fact that, he's got River in it, but she mentions from the diary Crash of the Byzantium, which is going to be in the Matt Smith Weeping Angel story, and you know, that's really well done. And I still think as well the special effects, they stand up to what you've got now, in my opinion. I think they look really, really good. When you got the girl going over the top, she's floating over the library. It looks great. It's such a good story.
You noticed a few things that happened in Boom, though, don't you, with Stephen Moffat? You know, like that little green thing, the light, and the light on the mine. And he does the same coding, doesn't he? Which is when it's flickering, you know, they're dying and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Are You My Mummy? He's famous for that. And in this one, it was, "Hey, who put out the lights? Hey, who put out the lights?" from Dave. And of course, she kept repeating ice cream. And well, did she say Donna had been a nice lady or something? She kept.
Yeah,
Oh,
she says, don't tell the others, they'll only laugh. And then there's another bit where one of them says, I'm not sure if it's the end of this or the beginning of the next one, where the thing says, "It's okay, I'm fine. I'm okay, I'm fine."
Yeah.
And it's that kind of repetition that we saw used so well in Midnight as well. That kind of fear of repetition. Because very little kind of, you know, look at the
He's
set
also obsessed. Sorry, Gary, but I'll just say this, and Gary, come in Boom, and I don't want to be talking about New Who necessarily, but I did see when I looked at Silence in the Library that there were these links to what Stephen Moffat's just done. The other one was the remaining bits of your consciousness that are recorded temporarily for a few seconds, which we had in Boom, because they had them very sad messages to splice, etc. Although I prefer this, of course, Gary.
Well, that scene you just mentioned with, and I can't think for any Miss, what was her name?
Evangelista.
Evangelista.
Yeah.
That to me is because I just rewatched them all again last night. That to me is the best played scene in this episode, because you're just there. I mean, I was thinking, well, my mind went to you know, people like as they're dying, you know, their mind kind of locks on to different things, memories they can remember, and that's like the last thing. So that was very well done, very well played. Catherine Tate did a great job in that scene. For me, the whole episode, I definitely think for me, I prefer part one to part two, because you can pretty much, for me, that there's no real surprises in part two, in terms of they kind of signal like what things are going to mean and how they're going to resolve later on. The whole like save thing, it probably means like computer saving and stuff. But no matter how many times they repeat the whole "you have two shadows" thing, it never stops being scary. When they look down and they find out that they have two shadows.
Yes.
That's all. I think they do that 3 or 4 times, and that's always great.
Yeah.
I think that I know we're focusing on part 1. The reason that part 2 kind of diffuses for me is because, and I know you have to have Donna in it, but there's too many scenes of her in ordinary, recognizable human things, like on the playground, at her house, putting the kids to bed.
I love that stuff.
Which to me diffuses the kind of claustrophobic, dark tension that is in this first episode, which is why I prefer it. But Tennant's great in this. I love the vista looking out on all the libraries and stuff. And you know what I was thinking as I was watching it last night? I thought if I went to this library, because he says that every book ever made was for a little girl. I thought if I was in this library, you know what I'd be doing? I'd be reading like every Target Doctor Who novel ever made. That's what I'd be reading if I was in this library. So it's it's great.
Do you know what I like as well? Sorry, Sean. I was just going to say. Do you know what I like about this as well? Compared to what we get now, is now it would be filmed in the room or the vault or whatever they call it, the Disney stuff. So they have a back screen to do all of it. Whereas they actually went out to location. I think it was Swansea City Library they went to, and they did a lot of the filming in there. And that's what I mean about making budgets work for you, because they found locations that they thought would work with the story. Whereas now I just find that they kind of, their default is let's go and use that technology. Let's not go and find a great location. In my opinion, most
places are willing to rent out their place so long as they get the sun that they need to cover any loss.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, the description again. Sometimes, do we like Silence in the Library because it wasn't the whole story? We're saying that the second part didn't quite deliver, but again,
I love the second. I think the second part is brilliant.
Sorry, and just for New Who to actually allow itself to breathe for a moment and allow itself to build more mood, to allow itself to do classic Doctor Who, that helped it. Whether the resolution worked or not is for another day, isn't it? But I thought this worked. And the dialogue, I looked it up. The Vashta Narada, a microscopic carnivorous creature that uses shadows to hunt and latch onto prey. Imagine being
piranhas
a kid.
Of the air.
Wow. Yeah, piranhas in shadows.
Piranhas of the air, that's what he says.
Yeah.
Imagine the nightmares kids had.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
That's
every time they see a dust coming in on sunlight through a window, it's like, oh, there's Vashta Narada.
Certainly get a lot of kids dusting, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to get kids to clean their room. Hey.
Yes, that's very good. Vashta Narada, what a name. I loved it. It has an essence of exotic or something, doesn't it? Vashta Narada. I just loved it. And the way David Tennant has given some brilliant lines just to explain it. And, and you can see his seriousness. He wasn't doing his Bill Nye jaw movements then. He was just being David Tennant. Yeah. I love this, and I know you referenced it earlier. It is an element where I'll allow it, where it did feel a bit Scooby-Doo as well, the actual monster. You know what I mean? The skull. Just it reminds me of a few Scooby-Doo episodes, I have to say. But
apparently, they did a pretty good job. They did a pretty good job considering that you couldn't see the monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it lit up. It was dark, and then it would light up, wouldn't it, suddenly as a skull?
Yeah.
Apparently, Vashta Narada means literally the shadows that melt the flesh. I don't know if it's Latin. I don't know what it is, but that's apparently what it means. But I love the second part of this. I loved the way it went. I loved the bit with Donna and look at the children. They're all the same. And Colin Salmon's like, oh, I forgot. And then you remembered. It's just, I loved all that and the way it kind of unravels. And...
No, it's not. I'm not. I just.
Oh no, I'm not arguing with you.
I was just saying that I didn't want to leave the library. I liked the darkness and the panic in the library. I didn't want to go out of that.
She was very, very good as an actor, as a young
Yeah.
actor. I thought at the time, I just thought she knocked it out of the park with her performance. I really did think she was very good.
And the second part, I love it. I mean, it has one of my favorite ever Doctor Who moments in it, where she whispers his name, or what we presume is his name. Well, he says my name in his ear, because she's like, "God, your hard work, young," and he's like, he doesn't understand who she is, and it's great because you see how it evolves later on, and I love that. The music's amazing as well.
Yeah.
If this had been Scooby-Doo, the villain would have been the farmer or the real estate guy.
Well, the Gregs, yes, or the real, the space alien was actually what it was seen to be, but yes, it would be the park ranger, the caretaker, the head teacher who was sacked. It's
I would
always
have gotten away with it too.
for you pesky kids. Yes, I know, on the Mystery Machine. I was just looking. I mean, it was Rachael mentioned some of these with her research. Isn't it interesting? I was intrigued by the River Song character, but after this, I got a bit sick of it. I was intrigued by the spoilers dialogue, but I didn't need it to be in loads and loads of stories. Again, I personally got tired of it. It was a shame because it was a fantastic character invention, this. And as Rachael said, this was the creeping build to turn left and to the what was it, like a beetle on her back, and then of course
Trickster,
the
wasn't it?
The Trickster's Brigade.
Yeah, that's it.
And then the dreaded Meta Crisis that had a brilliant resolution, a very sad one, to only find it got blown apart.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't, Brendan. No, she can't remember her memories. No, they never got repealed or anything like that. You dreamt it. It was all a dream. You've had a Bobby Ewing stepping out of the shower in Dallas moment. Well, it never happened. It was all a dream.
Peter Harrington has said to agree with Gary, the janitor. The thing is, when I see the word janitor, very American term, I think Hong Kong Fooey.
I think Scrubs.
The mild-mannered janitor could be.
But when you talk about Donna at this point as well, this story was another example of the character was written very well and it was very well acted. And that bit where she goes up to Miss Evangelista because she's kind of being bullied in a way, and she steps in to try and make friends with her. I thought that was lovely, and I thought that was really nicely done. And she did that with you to an extent as well, didn't she, earlier in the series? And this is why you became invested with this character.
I loved the episode. I think one of the best episodes she had, and I'm about to review it soon, is Easton. Sorry, it was an old phrase, that one. I'm just looking at the chat. But the thing about her second episode was Fires of Pompeii. Now that showed how, she was different as a companion in New Who. She would challenge the Doctor and say, no, like, this is not right. And she'd say, why can't we change? Because she was learning about, these fixed points in time and saying, well, why are these different? And you got to know her character so quickly, and you're not getting that now. No, I'm not getting away, but you're not getting that now, are you?
I mean, as John said about the, she didn't like the bullying of Miss Evangelista, and she doesn't like the bullying of Rose in Star Beast, but And is this the first time she calls out dead naming? Because Miss Evangelista ends up being dead. So is this a kind of version of dead naming? I don't know. Because it was ahead of its time. But I preferred this version because she didn't say she was going to deck people and she challenged mothers and all the rest of it. It was all a bit just.
You see, they hadn't planned on using Catherine Tate for an entire series originally, did they? So they made a sort of this brash, outlandish character, and then when they decided actually it is worth bringing her back, they had to make her likable. And by one of the things that they did was making her challenge the Doctor and question the things that the Doctor really did is one of the things that made her likable, and calling out things, but then also having the humane responses to things that the Doctor perhaps wouldn't have humane responses to. So that made her likable. Obviously, the companion is the eyes for us. So I think a lot of people really like Donna. Some of those, I like Donna more than Rose.
They did change it. I mean, she was very brash in the Christmas Invasion. And the Runaway Bride. Sorry. And then they really calmed her down. And I think what's great about her, and you can sum it up in, and again, it's the skill of the writing, is where the Doctor says, Dr. Time Lord, yes. And she says, Dr. Human, no. And that summed it up perfectly. She was like, I'm not standing for this. There's a bit where he tells her to shut up, and she's like, I don't know what kind of kids you've been running around with, but you're not telling me to shut up. And she
Sean.
had that, like, yeah.
No, while you're talking, and I advertise your channel, you have been in the middle of reviewing Donna Noble's episodes, haven't you?
Yeah, me and a American called Clayton from a podcast called Men Who Like Movies. Both love Doctor Who. He's loving the new stuff, and God bless you, Clayton. We've been rewatching the Donna Noble Chronicles. We've done The Runaway Bride. We've also recorded Partners in Crime. And we've got Fires of Pompeii to do. But I went to Pompeii last year, so I'm actually really looking forward to revisiting that one. But it's such a good series, that series 4. And I also did my first YouTube, and only so far, live stream with Cinnamon. We did that, so that's obviously on the YouTube channel if you want to catch that. But yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot, and it's I had an issue with, because I was trying to explain to Clayton being American, and I don't know, if you know either, being our other American, but Greg, that kind of you're watching, you didn't kind of get. Catherine Tate was known as a comedian. She did the Catherine Tate show, very successful, but she was very brash, over the top, and I think she had a bit of that in the opening. And you see flashes of it every now and again, but that they really calmed that down to the point where she was one of the best companions in the new era. I mean, I'm
She's
an unapologetic Martha Jones fan. I think she gets massively overlooked, but I think series 4 is probably the best series of Tennants that we get across the board. It's marvelous.
Well, we're covering nostalgia, we're covering New Who, we're covering a whole load tonight. So there's our cliffhanger on Silence in the Library when Donna Noble has been saved. If you are enjoying this type of footage and this streaming with my lovely panel, come on, the Oculoid is looking. I love that in Planet of Evil. I know it was a good effect as well.
It's
the
great.
Oculoid is looking for more subscriptions. Come on, you better check. Have you subscribed to us, you cheeky devils? If you haven't.
You got to get to 500 now, Brendan. You got 408.
Every time I make another target, it changes. I'm not knocking it.
Unlimited power very soon, my friend.
I know. So obviously tonight we will have our part 2 of the part 1s. Get it? Yeah. But the part 2 of our part 1 favorites. Join us again in the thread with your favorites. And of course, if you're keeping an eye on me, we've ticked off some episode 1s. We've ticked off Silence in the Library. We haven't ticked off on the right-hand side there. Let's go New Who New. Dot and Bubble. Toil and Trouble. So it gets 3 stars off the Radio Times. Dot and Bubble review. Black Mirror like. I haven't watched Black Mirror, so that doesn't help me as a blooming analogy. So somebody's going to help me in the thread and in the panel, please. Black Mirror like episode is ambitious to a fault, but when you read the full article, that's not quite a compliment. But on the right-hand side, I wanted you to look at this because you get little tidbits here and there. Dot and Bubble was an idea that RTD pitched to Stephen Moffat when he was showrunner, but they couldn't afford to make it. We didn't go very far with the conversation because the idea was literally too expensive. So you wait 15 years and then do it yourself. But the other thing I want to show you is what Shouty Doctor said on the left and what Doctor Who Productions says on the right. Seems like a similar thing. So basically the final scene in episode 5, Dot and Bubble, people will remember that scene.
How arrogant is that? How arrogant? Sorry,
well,
he's a very modest chap, isn't he? I know.
God's sake, have some modesty, for crying out bloody loud. Pardon me. Anyway, carry on.
Feel a love, Sean. Feel a love. As the cameras started rolling, it was the make or break moment. You have to dig deep and pull out something that will blow everyone on this set away, and I bloody well did. And
aren't we just so lucky?
Yeah.
And then on the right-hand side, I heard Dot and Bubble has a disheartening denouement. The cast list concurs. If true, and you didn't have the slightest warning in your heart of what might occur, RTD has proven that privilege is the most insidious real-world perception filter. Ooh.
What?
What are these cryptic clues as what's
Get
going
yourself
on?
a mirror, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Now,
Is
what-
this another statement from what I like to call the bubble gang, who constantly spill out this nonsense? Could it be?
Wait,
Well-
an episode about them?
Yeah.
you remember a few months ago when Shouty had he mentioned that there was one episode this season that was going to lean very heavily into his own personal progressive left ideology. And I'm thinking, based on what's left in the season, that it's probably this one. I don't think the Bridgerton one would fit that description,
No.
and I doubt the two-part finale would either. So I think it's probably going to be this one.
I mean, that image there that you've got up on screen already, for me, it's like, I know I'm not going to like this episode at all.
Lots of pastels.
And it just, to me, it speaks of it's going to be kind of like a dating,
Yes.
taking a mick out of dating apps, that sort of thing, from what it looks like.
Do you know? Sorry,
what-
John.
That's all right.
It just looking at the bubble and the bubble that's going all around her head. Do you know what it made me think of? It made me think of the Chris Eccleston's time, where that episode is where they're like in the game shows and all of that.
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh,
why
yeah.
it made it just visually. I
The long
doubt if it's
game?
like that, but I
The
think
long game, yeah.
yeah.
But
You know,
Brandon, can you go back two pictures?
yeah.
Looks like Stephen
This one,
King's Under
this
the
one.
Dome, doesn't it?
When I first saw these, they showed behind the scenes of them like months and months ago of them filming this on the street. And I always thought these looked like the tractators from Frontios.
Yes. Yes.
But
Or a bit of a
obviously
gastropod.
they're not. They look.
you know he's going to reference it's like a cousin of them or something.
I'm going to. John will appreciate this. I saw a comment on Facebook today. They said, you know what that reminds me of? They said, if you ever read the Fourth Doctor comic story, The Iron Legion, which was the first comic story, they said there was a character in there called the Ecto Slime, which is this big, huge, slimy creature that you think is going to eat the Doctor at some point. And they said, oh, that looks like the Ecto Slime. I thought, you know what? It does.
Yeah.
Is that right, John? Now that's in your mind?
Yeah, I think you're right. And the thing is, you know what he's talking out of his backside again about, we had to wait 15 years to do it. Everything I see of this so far, I've got to watch the episode, but like when I saw them there in that scene in the street, this doesn't look to me like it's an expensive episode. He's just trying to blow smoke up people's backsides again. Again, I might be wrong. It might be an absolute cracker, but I suspect that I'm going to get to an episode after Saturday and I'll go, well, that's another one that I'm never, ever going to watch again.
Well, this is the concern. I mean, Barry, I know a lot of people in threads and everywhere saying, is this the Tractators? And as we've just said, I bet you he'll reference them. They're a mixture of the Tractators and the gastropod in Twin Dilemma to me.
Yeah.
But and I've got loads of pictures in a minute to just root through, but I do find it interesting that you're only going to get 8 episodes, and 2 of them, as is rumored here, are Dr. Light.
That's
now,
insane.
Rachel, I wanted to ask you first in the acting profession. I wanted to ask you, is this crazy or just sloppy, or does it make sense that basically, do you think Bad Wolf set up their filming blocks before they'd hired the main actor, and once they give the main actor the job, they went, oh no, he's still with sex edge situation?
I actually think if they've given him 2 episodes being Dr. Light, he was already cast before this happened. If it's just 1 episode, I kind of get it, but I think he would have been cast and they would have already known about it.
Wow.
So I think probably they should have postponed filming. That's what they should have done.
We waited ages for these episodes as well.
I know.
I mean, can I just say, I don't know what creatures people are talking about, but they look like the Teletubbies rougher cousins. But
Frontiers on
again,
what was that picture,
Somebody
Brendan?
Dr.
What was that picture, Brendan? You had a picture where Ruby and the Doctor were on the screens.
Yes, there's a bigger one. What I'll do is I'll keep going.
But here's why I mentioned that, because now it being a Dr. Light episode, and based on what I remember from the trailer and one of the pictures you showed, which had Ruby and the Doctor on the big panel of TV screens, I bet you this is going to be something like Blink, where if we see Ruby and the Doctor at all, it's going to be in isolated scenes where they're talking to her, and Ruby's going like, look to your left or look to your right or whatever, and it's just going to be this. And why is the Doctor wearing just an orange T-shirt? It's like, how far are we going to lean into he doesn't have an outfit? It's like now all he needs to do is throw on an orange tee, and that's the Doctor.
Yeah, I agree. No identity and no doctorishness so far from him. And
but this is going to be like Blink. Whatever, if we see them, it's going to be on these snatches of videos. That's and which they could probably film. They could get Shouty to film that probably in a morning if they're just right, Rachel. If he's just standing before a screen reading a few lines, and then they just edit it into the show. He can do that in pickups from another episode.
Easy.
Do you know what I think it's going to be like?
Go to him.
I think it's going to be. No, sorry, I was just looking for a place to jump in. I think it's going to be like there's an episode of The Orville, and if no one's seen Seth MacFarlane's The Orville, go watch it. Stick with it after series 1 because he wasn't quite sure of the tone, but it started generation if it was made now. It's amazing. Yeah. There's an episode, I think it's series 2 or 3, called Majority Rule, and the crew land on a planet in the future, and it's basically a planet where their social media, you essentially have like a credit score for your like society. So say you said the wrong thing like 20 years ago, you had like a minus credit score, and it meant you couldn't use coffee shops. You couldn't. Really, really clever, really, really good idea. Really well done. I mean, Seth MacFarlane, say what you want, but the guy can write.
Yeah.
And it felt like something out of TNG. And I feel like this is going to be like a 5-year-old's version of that. Something on those lines of how we treat each other online. They'll probably try and mix it up and make it a bit like Traitors or Love Island or something like that. And you're thinking, really, Sean? It's a kid's show. Yeah, well, they've been very strange so far in some of the stuff we've had. So I think it's going to be some awful ham, hawk-fisted way of being like, this is where we could go. 1984, but without the intelligence.
Sean,
type thing.
I almost think
I'm
you're
cynical,
him,
yes, but I think I'm true.
No, I think in a way he's 60 odd. He's 60 odd. He's not your age, and therefore he'll be reflecting on something that happened ages ago.
Well, I'm 30 odd, so I wouldn't understand this younger generation.
No, but what I'm saying
either.
No, but what I'm saying is he will reflect back. To me, it's a mixture of The Circle, which was that game show on Channel 4 where they all lived in an apartment and they were stuck in a room and they kind of dated online, didn't they? It's a mixture of that. And then, of course, I'm too old for this, but what was it? Was it Pokemon where kids would do a treasure hunt on their iPhone and it would lead them to
Pokemon,
reality,
Because there's a shot where that slug or whatever it is, and she's almost in its mouth, but she's looking at her phone as if, is this just a cynical thing that kids stop looking at your phone because slugs are going to get you type thing? I don't know. It's just, if you're wondering about the story though, because somebody said, where's Susan Swift? Susan Twist is in this. I've seen the cast list. She is in it. And she's also in Rogue as a portrait. So in this one, because it's Dr. Light, the lead character is called Lindy Pepperbean.
It sounds like Captain Underpants. Sounds like Captain Underpants. This is just absolutely I mean, come on.
Clearly based on that last sentence there. Russell T Davies is kind of writing about himself. Obviously, that's where he got that. The patronizing, self-serving. That's basically him injecting himself into the story.
Is this all a big joke? Is this all a big
how
far can we push it till the hang on a minute?
She's going to be Sally. She's going to be Sally Sparrow in this story.
Yeah. Now hang on a minute. Let's just project. I'm RTD. I'm projecting about the bubble that is me in this episode. This is going to be his clanger.
Yeah. Get outside your bubble. Listen to people. Yeah, you take your advice, mate. Yeah.
It says, as you said, it says in the article that yes, Millie and Shouty are more in supporting roles, though neither is as absent as the Doctor was from 73 yards. Well, that won't take much. It's
Shame.
perhaps
Yeah.
best to describe this as a Doctor and Ruby lightish episode, which might come as a surprise.
It's
for
probably the
some
best one
people.
then.
Yeah, figures will go up.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You know, in the media always puts
8
on the same
million.
thing, and I'm never quite convinced whether they're seeing the same thing as me. Here in the second paragraph, Shouty eats up his limited screen time. Now, RTD has said this. I am not knocking Shouty, but I'm not sure about he eats up the dialogue and eats
Oh, he
up
chews up the scenery, yeah, but not in a good way.
Yeah, but the thing is, I still think, and I've seen a
Ibs.
lot of people who are trying to be fair to Shouty because he's establishing himself, although now he's a few episodes in, that actually he needs to just come. I mean, Rachel have said this a few times, go calmer, go quieter.
Bring
be
it
more-
down.
Yeah, he's too exuberant all the time in a way that seems immature or out of character. Out of acting, it seems like it's a fourth wall breaking almost because
He's
it's
still
like
trying
watching somebody acting.
Well, you know that's
he's-
not gonna tone down
No.
because he's got an episode coming up where he jumps out of the TARDIS shouting, "Give me the loving." So
Yes,
if
yes.
anything, it's going to go the other way.
I think part of the mistake there is that they're not talking about past doctors. That's it. They need
Yeah.
to. They need to. It will
Well,
help him a lot.
I
They've
thought.
messed
I
up.
mean,
They've
Now
messed it up. Yeah.
Now, just so everybody knows, because obviously this is a preview, so if I just go a little bit bigger here so people can see, but it's not so much what happens in Dot and Bubble as what's the episode's about
Bubble
that's
and
difficult to get into without giving the game away. This is thematically rich offering from RTD, but one that arguably overextends itself. You know, too ambitious, going too far in 45 minutes. You know, have we heard this before? This is what gets me worried. Our setting is the world of fine time, where everything's fine all the time. But this is being Doctor Who. There's no prizes for guessing that all is not as it appears. Beneath the sterilized artificial surface, there's a great darkness lurking. And the same can be said for Dot and Bubble itself. Don't be fooled by early glimpses at all its visuals. The subject matter explored here actually makes for one of Doctor Who's bleakest episodes to date.
you can't do
Macra
great.
Terror, anybody? That is the
Yeah.
plot of the Macra Terror.
Yeah.
What you just read, Brendan.
Yep.
You can't do bleak with this Doctor. It does, and this companion. It doesn't work. You can't have a Doctor this exuberant. You know, this over the top, this silly, this. There's no gravitas. There's no. When was the last time this Doctor and Whittaker's, for that matter, actually
You
took
mean
control of the situation?
Mavitas? You mean Mavitas?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Nicely done. I like it. Yeah, there's no Mavitas. There's no
Ka-ching.
gravitas. I like that. That was very good. Yeah, there just isn't. And we've seen they tried to do it in Boom, and it failed miserably. The 73 yards. I know we'll get to it, but that was I thought that was all right, but it's because Shouty wasn't in it. First 5 minutes of Boom, I thought, oh, it's a really good episode. And then Shouty opened the TARDIS doors, and my heart sank. It's not, you know, I'd love him to turn around, but as you said, Brendan, about he's trying to establish himself. Yes, Shouty is trying to establish himself, but as an actor, he's done one big show that went really well. He's had a few bit parts here and there. He hasn't done enough to do the range. But you could argue, okay, if I'm being a bit cynical, you know, you could say, well, Matt Smith was 4 years younger or more. He hadn't done an awful lot. I think he'd done a lot of stagey stuff, but he hadn't done a lot. He was young, yeah, but I think he had talent. And I'm not saying Shouty doesn't have talent, but I think he's miscast. And I genuinely think it's not playing to his strengths. It's highlighting his weaknesses, because he's not playing the Doctor. He's playing this over the top character that isn't the Doctor. It just doesn't work for me.
Rachael?
Anyway.
He's going to stage soon. He's going to be in The Importance of Being Earnest.
Oh, yes.
And it's going to be his first professional
Wow.
stage debut. So that will tell you a lot. That will hone in any energy that is too exuberant, because the director will be hot on that, because that will have to be outstanding.
Rachel,
Will
what
it
you're
know, or
saying...
will they let it
Hold
go
on,
around him?
Hold
Sorry,
on, Rachel, that is shocking, because remember in the coronation kind of party, he played Romeo on stage.
Yeah.
So basically, you're saying without much theatrical experience, he's been given massive roles. Like without the build-up, so to speak.
If I've got that correct, I thought I read that, but maybe I got it. Maybe I got it wrong.
I think you're right, Rachel. I think I thought something along those lines as well.
Obviously, he went to. I think he went to drama school, so he would have had the stage experience there. But the thing about drama schools is that they train you up, but they don't prep you for the real world. And actually, that's the same with any university degree in acting, musical theatre, entertainment. They don't teach you beyond sort of what you're learning. So he'll learn a lot from doing a stage show. He's probably learned a lot from doing TV, but he'll learn what not to do.
It's just like Eastland, let me just get it up, Burkholder here. The Doctor is a thoughtful, introspective person at times. I'd like to see that range. And as Paul Shawnee, I had the quote up. Does anyone else get a vibe? I don't know. John Nathan Turner did the same with Original Who. Spot the similarities with RTD. We were reading about the plots and all the rest of it here. Is anyone seeing any vibe, or is that unfair to one or the other?
Didn't I say in a past stream something similar?
Well, you may have, because we cover the ground on this, don't we?
I have.
Yeah.
But maybe not. I don't know.
We did do the showrunners versus producers one, didn't we?
We did. I can't remember if I said it, though. But, oh well.
Apparently, Shouty, in 2014, he received a commendation at the Ian Charleston Awards. I don't know if you know what those are. I don't. So for his 2014 performance of Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet. So he's done a bit of stage stuff.
Oh, really?
I didn't know Eddie.
He doesn't really talk about that, though.
Yeah, I didn't know Eddie Izzard was in it.
Oh, really?
That's not Eddie Izzard.
I know,
Oh, you're joking. All right, that was
sorry.
over my head.
David Bowie. It looks like David Bowie.
You know why I was a bit unsure there? Because it wouldn't surprise me anymore. That's
it wouldn't. But bless her, this woman is holding the whole thing together. And it was asked, let me just say, because we're going to go to our favourite nostalgia soon. Susan Twist is in this as Penny Pepperbean. So that lady, so basically, is that the mum or something? I know.
Sorry, carry on, Brendan.
So
Pie.
If you look at some of the names in this cast list, you've got Ricky September, Ruby Sunday, Hoodie Pie, Valerie Nuke, Blake Very Blue, Gothic Paul. These must be nicknames on your internet thing, mustn't they?
Yeah. Brendan, are you gonna make us watch an episode where there's a character called Dr. P?
Well,
now they're peeing on us without the courtesy of even calling it rain.
It's so there you go. Is everybody excited for Saturday or Friday midnight? There you go.
I mean,
we've got you salivating now.
I mean, the message is going to be in full force this weekend, and it's going to be the usual. Let's wrap it up with 5 to 10 minutes to go, as usual. With look, we've beaten the baddie with the 5-10 minutes to go. And I, like you've said before, Brendan, I wish they go to cliffhangers again. To try and get the audience in. As there doesn't seem to be any consequences or threat or danger anymore, though. From watching these, it just plods along.
They're far too standalone, aren't they? I mean, it kind of, and I know this is sacrilege, and it is sacrilege, and I apologise to any Red Dwarf fans, but it reminds me, not in a quality way, but it reminds me in kind of what Red Dwarf did in like series 5 and 6, when it went to those Monster of the Week kind of, and they were very standalone, but at least in Red Dwarf they had the thing with that they'd lost Red Dwarf the ship and they were trying to find it, so it had a through line. This has no through line apart from Mrs. Flood or Mrs. Pepper.
Now I'm going to move us along quickly so that we can actually enjoy and calm again in our nostalgia. I've only got Gary for a few more moments, so if everybody appreciates, I'm going to go to Gary's choices, just so we've got him in. And
Brandon,
then
just make sure when you make the thumbnail for Sunday's show, you include a picture of Dr. P.
I'm
steady on.
It's going to be on the front cover of the new collections book.
See if I can trigger people to get to 3K or something crazy.
Go on.
So so Gary, we'll pick one of yours and see if it
Okay,
shocks people in
great.
the thread and on the panel. It kind of shocked me, but I'm intrigued what you're going to say. So
Did
we
it?
said top part ones in the whole of
Right.
Classic Who, and
Right.
Gary picked
I don't even remember.
Black
Oh,
Orchid.
Black Orchid.
Yep.
Yes, I love this episode. I love the story, but I love this particular episode. This is just great. I think there's more. There's just such a lift and a joy about this episode. I mean, the fact that the location filming at the railway and that glorious cricket game, which you can tell Peter Davison is loving filming that whole sequence with him playing cricket. That's just, it's well staged. The party with Tegan doing the Charleston is just so well done. There's just such a, I mean, you just feel up. I mean, when you watch this, because it's just like what, the BBC does so well, which is a period piece. In the early part of the century, people out playing cricket in those outfits and everything. They introduced the whole Nyssa Anne double act. You get a little bit of the mystery. I mean, for me, the mystery in this episode is kind of so slight anyway. It's all about the atmosphere. It's about basically kind of a, just kind of taking a breath before the next story, which is Earthshock. So this is kind of a respite before that.
I thought the plot, Gary, was that it was a whole episode about Adric eating. Isn't that the whole plot of the story? Yeah.
Or as Nyssa says, "You pig." Yeah. But the whole thing about them, coming in and the line about, the misdirect on the master, the fact that Tegan is having a screwdriver and the kids want one, and Doctor goes, reminding us that, they may not look it, but Nyssa and Adric are kind of supposed to be, underage here, so they can just have lemonade. And it's just like watching kind of like a classic, BBC kind of period piece. And I just love it. I think it's great.
And when you're saying about the cricket, I do love, on the extras where Peter Davison says about the fact that he got caught on film bowling out the guy. They caught it live, and that's why when he does his hands in the air, he goes celebrating because he had actually done it.
It's great. I mean, I can't help watching this episode without a big smile on my face.
Oh, that's. I mean, do you think it does its job as a part one? I know it was only a two-parter, but did it do enough? Did it kind of build the world? It did everything as we were judging from Unearthly Child onwards?
I think that for this one, because the viewers probably have seen dozens, if not hundreds, of BBC productions set in this, whether it's what's the one with Hugh Laurie that I can't think of, that was kind of set in this kind of time period. And so I think the viewers can kind of fill in. The viewers can kind of fill in based on their own knowledge. I mean, they're instantly, locked into the feel of this era. Yeah. So there doesn't need to require the world building that Robots of Death did, because, the minute they land in 1925, the audience is already filling in a lot of that for them.
There you go. Cheese and Rooster, yeah.
Cheese and Wooster. That's what I was thinking.
Gary, before you go, you and John have a double act here. This one.
Oh, okay. Well, no, John, you go first, and then I'll fill in whatever you don't mention.
Yeah, it's all right. You go, mate, because I know you've.
No. I was just going to say this one. Obviously, we get the introduction of the best companion ever in the history of the series. I mean, the professor. I'm talking about the professor there. I'm not. No, Sarah Jane Smith, obviously, and the Sontarans, and You know, it's a whole different feel from, you know, I mean, Joe's obviously gone, so that key element of the kind of unit family is kind of gone, and the way that Pertwee plays against Elizabeth Sladen is much different from the way that he played against Katie Manning. You know, even though the Brig's there, but even that, it just feels with Sarah, with Joe gone, even the kind of unit scenes just feel, not that they feel off, but there's a different feel to it with Joe not there, because Sarah isn't part of the unit family yet, and everything, and it's, you know, I mean, all the stuff with you know, Lynx back in the you know, that's another BBC staple. You got the medieval castle, you know, with all of that, and you know, so it's a good setup for the introduction of the Sontarans. But I got to say that if you like this story, track down the Target novelization for this, because Robert Holmes writes, it's like the first chapter, which is all about Lynx being up in space before he crashes down. And basically Robert Holmes like lays out all of Sontaran societal structure in that like 2-page first chapter of the Target novel for this story. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, for me as well, I mean, I just mirror everything that you've said. I do love the end of the episode where Lynx, you know, takes the helmet off, and he just does that. He does that fantastic bit with the tongue where he just goes, you know, just sticks his tongue out brilliantly.
Brendan, put that on full screen so we can see John do that again on full screen.
You know,
Lap it up. Lap up screen time, John.
Yeah.
I understand how I feel.
Well, you know, that was very RSC training.
Rachel, that's scene stealing, isn't it? That's scene stealing.
He's stealing your voguing, Rachel. Get him told.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm always voguing and no one ever mentions it.
Yeah, I'd make a great
I can't think why.
God knows.
Have you seen this one, Sean?
How many guesses would you like? No, I've not
I don't
seen
know,
this one
because
yet,
you
sorry.
have seen some of them.
I've seen some of them. Sorry, it's just I was just being sarcastic. Sorry, I haven't.
No, I know, it's fine. But and Rachel, you've seen this one, right? Rachel? Once? Okay.
Are you muted?
I'm glad you understood that.
What did you I'm curious, Rachel, I know you've only seen it once, but what did you think about Sarah's personality versus Joe's, where she is very much, for that time, you know, they really push the whole, she's the strong feminist and all of that, and pushing against the Doctor like that.
She was a stark contrast, wasn't she, to Joe? I think it works. She's a nice adversary. I think she's a better adversary for Tom Baker's Doctor.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Liz Sladen has a nice calmness about her when she does it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the way she's trying to figure things out logically. Like when she first gets this, she's like, oh, it must be some sort of pageant, you know.
Yeah.
And then the guy's grabbing her and she's like,
it's like a whimsical, wondering, inquisitive.
Yeah.
Very journalist.
It's an interesting way of doing it, because that Time Warrior on the stairs, it was almost like they're doing a ghost story, but with a futuristic element. It was really interesting. And of course, and as you said, it established Sarah Jane. She's a journalist. She's not making cups of tea. I'm not messing around. And he told her, you're in a very dangerous situation. You do realize, whatever. I loved her a bit later on with June Brown. Paul Shawnee's just mentioned June Brown.
Yeah, I forgot she was in that.
Yeah, the way she tries to tell, is it the cook or the ones in the kitchens, about women's rights and stand up for yourself. I know it's not part one.
Brilliant.
Can I just say as well a couple of things? Blood Axe and Iron Gron.
Yeah,
that duo is superb. It's the big finish set we never got. Blood Axe and Iron Gron. That would have been great. And then I also love the fact that we've got the future Boba Fett in there as well, Jeremy Bullock.
Oh, that's right.
And Hal the Archer. You know, so he played it well.
You know, it's really too bad. I know that they've done it on, you know, different, like original novels and, you know, Big Finish and stuff. It's really just so sad that they didn't have Pertwee do more historicals. I know that this is kind of like a pseudo-historical in that it's mixing science fiction with history. It's not something like the Romans or Marco Polo. But even giving him a chance maybe to do like another pseudo-historical would have just been great, because having Pertwee in this, you know, setting that's not with UNIT on current day Earth was just great. And it's really unfortunate that that they didn't have time to have him do another one.
Interestingly, a couple of years before he passed, I met Jeremy Bullock at a Comic-Con, lovely guy, and he said to me that it was originally planned that he was going to become a companion in the TARDIS.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
That's what he said to me. And he said, but it just never quite happened. And he said that they wanted, because it went so well for him on that Time Warrior story, they wanted to potentially bring him in as this character from the past to be part of the TARDIS crew. And that would have been a really good, interesting take, I think. But, you know, it's still, what we got was superb Tom and Sarah, you know, and Ian, you know.
Now, I've got to throw another one in, which is Sean, who's working his way through Classic Who.
I'm going to jump. I have to jump. Go back to work. That's U.S. time. I will see you on Sunday.
See you on Sunday.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, mate.
Bye.
So, Sean, this is one of yours. I know it's only a two-parter, but basically, go on, take us through why this is a strong episode for you.
I think this is New Who at its absolute peak. I think if you want to appeal to the Americans, this is how you do it. But just to stand alone, I mean, you saw the difference in budget. I mean, I don't even know if it was budget or whether they just wangled it that way, that they had a couple of bottle episodes later on, but the cinematography is beautiful. I mean, it starts off like a really amazing romp. You know, Amy and Rory have taken a bit of a break. The Doctor's going around on his own. But it starts off with all these really strange, almost vignettes where the Doctor's kind of doing the Great Escape. He's caught naked underneath a woman's dress in like the Regency period. And you're kind of wondering, what on earth? And Amy's reading a book saying, this is really silly. This is almost like he's in a Laurel and Hardy film. The Flying Juices, great film. You kind of looking and she's reading it saying, it's almost as if he's jumping out at us. This is just silly. She and Rory receive a letter, TARDIS Blue, to go meet him at these coordinates, which is in Utah, in America. The Doctor's there. He's like 200 odd years older than when they first saw him. And an Apollo astronaut, it's 1969. Apollo astronaut comes out of the, it's not 1969 yet, sorry. An Apollo astronaut comes out of this lake, beautiful, shoots the Doctor, and then shoots him again. When his body's already dead, he gets shot before he can regenerate, and that's it. And you're thinking, whoa, what's going on here? Like, this is the start of a series. What the hell's going on? River Song's there as well, and Canton Delaware the third, who the older actor who plays the older Canton is the son of the one who plays the younger Canton, and it was the younger Canton's actor to have that happen, which I think is quite cool. And it runs off from there. They go to this diner. And who steps out? There's another letter. Well, who did the Doctor trust the most? Or himself? And she, River Song's like, this is cold. Even for you, this is cold. And excuse me, it's just such a great episode. The part 2 is good, but it's one of those, and you mentioned it earlier, Brennan, one of those first parters that I can just watch and really, really enjoy, because I just think it works. It's just, yeah, sorry.
Sean, it's mentioned in the thread, and it's mentioned a lot by people with The Impossible Astronaut. This is the start of a season, and of course, they set this premise that he regenerates, and we know he's not going to, because this is a bit like Boom. Everybody, those who criticize Boom, say, the Doctor's not going to die. Isn't that the same situation here, though, with the same blooming writer, by the way, that you're setting up something and we're making the regeneration a bit cheaper by playing with it all the time. Sorry, I'm just going to throw that in there.
Isn't it different? Well, no, it wasn't. This was Moffat, but Boom. Sorry, yeah, I'm mixing up 70. Yeah, Boom. Yeah, they're similar, but this comes across as much more thought out, much more intelligent. But Boom, you know what? I go up and down on Boom thinking, I mean, I'll never watch it again. I just won't. That's not me being facetious or being funny, dodgy. I just won't watch it again because it does nothing for me. I don't know whether it's an issue with the performers. I thought the script was more of a, but as I said, I can't get over the fact that I thought for 5 minutes, oh, this is proper Doctor Who again. And then the TARDIS doors open and out steps Shouty, and I'm like, oh, the 15th Doctor. I never call him that because I don't, anyway. And it's like, oh, here we go. And it just, there was some very strange thing, the Doctor kisses that flesh thing, and you're like, what is this? There was some very strange, it just didn't make a lot of sense, a girl in the middle of a battlefield. If it's just them fighting themselves, or these robots, why are the fires everywhere? Because the robots wouldn't create fires, they use lasers. The humans would. It was just all a little bit, and then before you get into the politics that they've absolutely ham-fisted over it. This feels much more part of like a whole, much more setting up a story. And yeah, as you say, that we know the Doctor's not going to die. But the thing is with this, it takes 2 episodes to, well, it takes a lot of them. To be fair, it takes more than that, a whole series almost, to kind of bring it to a head and figure out what's been going on in terms of who gets shot and is it really the Doctor? And, well, yeah, exactly, Peter. But this is the thing, it's just across the series rather than just, I mean, just a single episode doesn't mean anything.
Well, so we're picking the best episodes ever of Who. So the next one, I mean, we've had Time Warrior there. I can see in the thread Time Meddler Part 1. I assume, Paul, you're saying the City of Death Part 1. Now, Keeper of Traken, Rachel.
Yeah.
One of yours.
A bit of a surprising one, I think. I actually surprised myself by choosing this, but I chose it. So obviously continuing on with some firsts here. Obviously we see Nyssa for the first time. We didn't know she was going to become a companion at that point, nor did she until a bit later. And it's the first time we see Anthony Ainley as Tremas. And what I like about this one is that it's, when we're introduced to this episode, this whole entire, in actual fact, this whole entire story, it's so unbelievably calm. Like, even when things start going wrong in the first episode, it is so calm. It's like you feel that, there's a sense of danger, but that these people like the peace. So you're like, you don't know what to expect from it, I think. And I like that kind of writing. They even took that and used it for Primeval in the Big Finish story, which is a very good Big Finish story. You're also introduced to, what's it called? The Melka, the calcified object, which you are led to believe is just this stone, that's calcifying over time, and it doesn't move. It has no sentience, and then suddenly you discover it has that sentience there. But you're left guessing as to what it actually could be. It's quite creepy as well. This object that just moves around, and it can only use its eyes, and you've only got who was it? It was Jeffrey Beavis, wasn't it? Yeah. You've only got Jeffrey Beavis's voice. Yeah. And you're like, oh God, what's going on?
Good radio actor.
Yeah. And it is one of Adric's better performances. The writing is better for Adric here. I will just say that. But it's slightly strange, very calm. The characters enjoy calm debate and discussion, even when they're in peril. I just like this episode.
And it did set up the world. Peter Harrington was saying, because we understood this, it's sci-fi. So the Source and the Keeper, I think they showed you what you do when the Keeper changes. So basically, it quickly showed you what's going on. I like Doctor Who's as well. I mean, it starts the Keeper arriving in the TARDIS, which was still seen as a bit unusual then to invade the TARDIS. But I mean, to see the Keeper and saying, I'm in peril, I need your help type thing. And you think, oh, this is the type of thing I like. The classic Mayday SOS, or can you give us a bit of help, please, Doctor? Yeah.
And then you go into it. Sorry. And then you go into it and it's like completely calm. And you're like, well, are you in peril? Are you in danger? But the setup of the whole story is just done very, very nicely.
And little and our consuls, John Woodnett, brought on. We had some of our regulars, and you go, and just lovely to see. But a great team, and of course that very strange marriage between Tremas and Cassia.
Yeah.
Lady Macbeth. There she was.
Yeah,
she was,
I've always been wary of a lady with a necklace ever since, to be honest with you.
With very dodgy eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen this one, Sean?
He's jumped away for a second.
Yes, I don't know why, and this is a bit mad to say. I think I saw this. I don't know why, but I think I saw this as a kid before I knew who was even a thing. I think it was on a video, because I can remember having a video with, I don't even know what it's called, that creature in the middle. But I can't remember it, but I think this is the first one I've ever seen. And I remember watching it and thinking it was all a bit odd, but I'll have been, God, I might have been like 6 or 7. But I remember that creature. So I will have to rewatch it, because I think it is the first Doctor Who I ever watched, even though I didn't know what it was.
I think this is a great example as well. And I've said this before about New Who, and they just overhype the Master, where he's over the top. Whereas this is a classic example of Geoffrey Beevers, and Rachel said it there, it's quite calm. The way he talks, it's calm and it's sinister. It's scary. And he was a great Master. I really liked his portrayal as the Master.
Yeah.
And it just, this story again. Being a kid, I love the idea of a TARDIS within a TARDIS again, which they come back to.
Yeah.
It was great. And then someone said in the chat, that bit with Tremas being taken over, and later
that's
on
one
in
of the
story,
best cliffhangers that you can get. Although I still stand by this, the biggest mistake was that they made him look like Roger Delgado. I don't think they should have done that. They should have made it his own. His portrayal wasn't the same either, so, but still great,
Well, Paul Richards, best classic regeneration. I'm assuming, you mean Tremas into the Master. All them blooming names with messing on with acronyms and that. Honestly, right. Okay, let me just jump. Oh look, they see your scene stealing now. You see?
I forgot to Vogue.
Yeah. Now I might. Oh, sorry. I missed it. Am I too predictable? Although I have to say, I know it's a classic, but I thought part 1 of Talons of Weng-Chiang is very, very strong. Yeah. Again, Victorian world building, the theatre. I mean, come on, isn't Doctor Who good at when it does the theatre? It's Robert Holmes, so of course you have some great duos, and of course these did go into Big Finish, of course. You've got some real classic characters. I love Jago as the theatre manager. I don't know. Rachel, is it a silly trope of theatre, Mr. Jago, or is it just fun? Is it?
It's just fun.
I love it. I love it. I mean,
it's like a play within a play, isn't it? Sort of thing.
The impresario.
Oh yeah.
But I like the character actors in the background as well. It's like the one who's looking for his wife. I'll fetch the peelers. That. It's great.
I mean, the old lady with one tooth. Hey, look at that dead body in the water. She was classic. I love Doctor Who seems to always do stuff like that. But I know, there's the racial thing, but that's of its time. But the characterization, this idea of this Lee Sen Chen from China, who's now, when you get his story later on, that's fascinating. But I'll stick to part 1. We really don't know who's behind this. You think he's the baddie, because I think in part 1 you see him do some hypnosis. I love the fact that there's references to Jack the Ripper. So this is Doctor Who does Jack the Ripper, and that really sells it to me, because that is lethal. And I think most kids have an obsession with that kind of murderer. That we all have a phase when you read the books about Jack the Ripper. And so Jack the Ripper, Victorian London, the theatre, prostitution, actually, let's be honest, there's that kind of angle to it going on. And then the exotic, let's face it, we'll call it what it was. You've got a taste of the Orient, as they used to say. And then you've got Mr. Sin. And I just think the characterization is, but the top left photograph, when the doctor's talking to the police, and he's with his Sherlock Holmes outfit, of
We'll
course.
come to it now, Sergeant. Yeah, you know that is.
And the way Leela just bemuses the police, the way she, she just gives away that I'll attack him, and she does all that. I love it, absolutely. There's so much about it, and I think it is part one when Lee Sen Chen's called in to translate with the Chinese who's been caught. It just
Brilliant.
So much going on. It's a feel good factor, and then of course Mr. Lightfoot, because we get to the mortuary. We get the Janus Thorn. I love the Janus Thorns. Yeah. Please use Janus Thorns. Forget Nitro 9. Janus Thorns. Love them.
It's great. You've just got me in the mood now. I need to go back and listen to my Jago and Lightfoots on Big Finish. I haven't listened to it for a while, but Big Finish did. I think it's called The Butcher of Brisbane.
Yes, we've got that.
Yeah. So it kind of links with this, doesn't it? So. Yeah, you've got me in the mood now. That's me up till 4 a.m. Thanks, Brendan.
Yeah, well, I agree with Doug Sims. I won't go heavy, but because we were just enjoying. These are enjoyable episodes and stories, and they're well written, and they're well acted, and they're well presented. I don't like this revisionism because everything's of its time. I don't think it was done with malpractice or anything. So I'll just leave Talons alone, please. But isn't it funny, Doug Sims? If everybody is doing this revisionism, they haven't doctored it, have they? It's on iPlayer. So is this kind of people 1 minute patronizing us and preaching to us, but they'll take the money and have it on iPlayer, and it shouldn't be taken off.
It's the same people who say they love Doctor Who, but they don't watch the show, and the viewing figures are dropping because they're not watching the show. They're the same people, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be done like that now, but it was done like that then, and it wasn't done for any bad reason. I really don't think it was. I don't think the people making Doctor Who then had this a bad thought going on. It was a good yarn. Yeah. Okay, then. Good old Talons of Weng-Chiang. So. Rachael.
Yeah, this one's mine. So I was keeping in with my sort of like.
How many picks did Rachael get? I thought it was only one each.
Rachael, she writes me essays,
I do. Well, I didn't write you essays for this.
She's the teacher's pet, is she?
I am teacher's pet.
One of the naughty kids with a hat on.
Glad you just figured that out,
Rachel, go for Vogue. Go for Vogue. This is your moment. There you go. Teacher's pet. There you go.
Yeah. The teacher's award.
Yeah. I was a teacher once as well. I went for this one because I was keeping in with my things of first, and John Pertwee's not my favorite Doctor. I'm just going to say that straight out. He's too much jumping Jehoshaphat's for me in fistfights. But this one. It sticks with me. So for me, I know we don't see them in this episode, but it is the Autons. It's the first time we're introduced to them. And only Brendan knows this, but I have an innate fear of mannequins. And for me, something like
you sure you want to tell the internet that?
It's okay. Yeah. It's fine. I can deal with it. Just
Wilson's more scared of them. Poor Wilson, who had the lottery collections in rows.
Yeah, Wilson, I got the lottery money.
Yeah. So they were the first scary alien for me in Doctor Who. Truly, like hiding behind the pillow. It's just that. Yeah, but watchable, totally watchable. I'll sit there and scare my knickers off, Too much information. So anyway, back to it.
I told you not to take too much NyQuil.
Yeah.
Welcome to Shakespeare After Dark.
At least we're past the watershed, Brendan.
Hey,
hold on.
It puts a different
do it again. Blow your knickers off. No,
it puts a different slant on Hey Who Turned Out the Lights, doesn't it?
No,
It does, yeah.
Doctor Who has never done that to anyone before. That's a first. It's got to be.
No, no, she's doing a Nissa in Terminus. That's what she's
Yeah.
I am
doing.
doing an Issa and Terminus. So anyway, first episode of A New Doctor. It's the first episode broadcast in colour. First time that the brig learns about regeneration. It's the first Mortal Kombat Doctor, I guess you could say. First companion, Liz, that matches the Doctor's brains, that truly matches the Doctor's brains. First time the brig is used as a companion, and he's really the first one to ever truly question the Doctor. And, well, there you go. That's
And-
why I chose it.
What's
And
your thoughts?
you're right,
sorry,
Rachel.
sorry,
That-
before
sorry,
John
yeah.
comes in, I was just going to ask a question, Rachel. As an actress again,
Yeah.
Liz Shaw,
Are
Carolyn
you an
John.
actress? Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I was just going to say, because Liz Shaw, poor soul, she's given scientific advisor. But the talk is that John Pertwee was nothing against Carolyn John, but he didn't like the fact that she was his equal, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. What a shame. I mean, as an actor, I mean, if you were Carolyn John, how would you be thinking, oh, what the hell? That's not fair. Come on.
Yeah, I would be absolutely devastated. Because obviously this is work, this is regular work, and the acting world is so cliquey, and it's about who you know, what you know, and it's just an unfortunate situation. Unfortunately, in this circumstance, John Pertwee was right with regards to the fact that the character matches the same level. Does
What
that
about
mean that she should have been written out entirely? I don't think so. Maybe she could have served more of an adversary towards the Brigadier, and have Joe Grant introduced as the regular companion instead. So,
Because when you think John Pertwee, remember the other one, the lady was going to be Sarah Jane, and he didn't want her, did he? So you think I like John Pertwee, but that's two actresses who seem to have to disappear. I think the first choice was maybe the team, wasn't it? Decided that it just didn't work story-wise. The second one was John Pertwee. No, I'm not happy.
and sometimes that just shows that an actor does, especially the lead actor, does have influence, and it's not great. It's unfair, but it is the way. Was she pregnant? Was she?
I think
don't
during that
In
period,
that season, yeah.
yeah.
Because I think it was Ambassadors of Death where she didn't tell him she was pregnant, and she had to do that run along the water.
Yes.
And she goes, when she told them, they went berserk.
Yeah, and that's also a thing. She may have also had it in her contract that she wasn't allowed to get pregnant during filming. They do sometimes write that in if you're doing something specific.
yeah.
I
It's
do
not
wonder.
often, but they do sometimes.
I do wonder as well, because I know because this is what, the 70s, early 70s.
70.
Yeah, 70. So I do know around this time when they were making films that certain actors, your Stanley Baker, your people like that, I can't, my brain's gone. Like the Guns Navarone, that film, they would have the right, the top actors would have the right to basically hire and fire, hire and get rid of directors. I don't know if that filtered down into television in terms of actors and kind of actresses or other like people who were playing around them, but I can imagine it might have done, particularly the BBC at this time, and we'll not get into that too much, but in terms of the time, but I think it might have been, because the second one, I mean, if John Pertwee just wasn't getting on with it, I think sometimes it does come across if you're thinking, well, I'm going to have to do years potentially of this program with yourself, and you think, yeah, I can't. But who knows? It's interesting to think about, though.
I think Rachel's right about the fear of the Autons, because that image on the left there for me was terrifying. I don't think they've bettered it from that Auton
Actually
today, because it's the face mask, but it's the way it's really shiny as well.
Yes, because I think the general at some point has that shiny face as well.
Yeah, and they do it really well.
just the fact that they've got these strange, not strange, just normal overalls on, that face. And I think when we did the Rose review about a month ago, we said that the original Autons were much more scary, I have to say, than the attractive Autons in Rose, who were just kind of well sculpted. Now, my final choice, just to finish off, folks. I'm trying to resist. I am trying to resist certain classics, but this is a very good part one. I was sucked in by, the cliffhanger is on the top right there. I didn't know how they were going to get out of that. It was one of those really gritty, realistic. They're firing squad. I mean, there's no joke. There's no kind of science fiction concept wheeze about it. This is a firing squad. And there were loads of machine guns, and I just didn't know how they were going to get out of it. Final words, Doctor, and everything leading to that. We've said a lot, so I won't say too much, but it's just such a good story. But it's all set up. They're dying slowly, aren't they? Spectrox toxemia. The way they're dismissed in that little military cabin, they are just losers, aren't they? Just locked away, no control. Yeah. I don't think, do we see Sharazjek really in part one, or just his hand and his arm and his leg?
His hand, isn't it, really? And he's laughing, I think, at certain bits.
Yeah. That great Graham Harper, that lovely sequence where you see him switching things when he's doing the android, but we didn't know. But yeah, it's a bit Logopolis. It's gritty, it's doom-ridden. The Doctor has no control. Poor Perry is just she's
and Morbus in the top left though is superb as well. And the way he keeps looking at the camera, he's going, are they part of the? Are they spies or something? He's going along the lines. And he's like, kill them or effectively, and he's pushing his power and influence and
the way was it Morgus said how they it was the president who said they disgust me having to wear the red, and they made them sound like vagabonds, criminals, and this is the Doctor and Perry, and the way they're talked about, you thought, wow, this is so. Paul, my jaw dropped. I thought, wow, number one, that was such a brilliant, sharp cliffhanger. And my God, Doctor Who does firing squads. That was getting a bit tasty. I have to say.
Can I just say about Nicola Bryant as well? She was fresh out of drama school. I know she appeared a couple of stories earlier, but she was fresh out of drama school when she came in as Perry. That's a big job to get. She's phenomenal in Caves of Androzani. She holds up really well to Mr. Experience in the Salaryman.
And doesn't it show that? Sorry, John.
That's right. I was just going to say, boy, was she cold on that set.
She must have been freezing. She knew why she was brought in. She knew why she was brought in.
Yeah.
I think it shows that. I mean, I've not seen it, but I mean, obviously with the you talking that, I think talent, no matter what your age, shines through, and I just haven't seen that. I don't think I'll see it in the new series.
There's a Nicola Bryant also does, and I can't remember if this was around the same time or a bit later. She also does an episode of Blackadder, not in the series, but it was
Christmas one.
It was a Christmas one.
Yes.
Oh, what a contrast! It was so funny.
Yeah, it was the Christmas Carol, wasn't it? That was it.
Yeah. But she was brilliant. It was only a bit like a cameo, wasn't it? Really, sort of like two scenes. But she stole those scenes.
Was it Mrs. Miggin's shop? I don't know. They went into a kind of
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Brilliant.
Morris. Is it Morris Reeves? Oh God, what a cast! Graham Harper was talking about Drass recently. I'm sure he's mentioned it a lot because let's face it, he could go to town and live his retirement off this one and a couple of others he did. Honestly, fantastic. Everybody's mentioning the firing line. I know.
Very young Robert Glenister there.
Yes, because he was in Sink or Swim with Peter Davison, wasn't he? That's sitcom.
I think also with this first episode, what I love about it is you see a darkness in the Fifth Doctor you've not seen at one point, because where he's being dismissed in the cabin, and he goes, he turns and he's going, if we can just sit down and talk about this like decent gentlemen or something along those lines, and then he basically has a go at the general, doesn't he? And then that's it. But you see Peter Davison's eyes, the way he plays it is so good, the way he kind of flicks to a dark.
But
darkness all
obviously
of a sudden.
they've got the script. They know how to play this because he has to really convince us, and he convinced me that he didn't know what was going to happen, and I suppose he didn't. But you know, when they're in the cell, and he says, "Any final words?" and he said, "Oh no," because before the final words with the red cape, that he said, "We've had no this, we've had no that," and then he was saying to Perry, wasn't he? He turned away because she kept saying, "They're getting ready, they're getting ready," and he was like,
Yeah.
"You know, this."
Anything
was
happening.
yeah, and to play the Fifth Doctor sometimes in the early days could look a bit too weak, you know, because they played that vulnerability. But right at the end here, his vulnerability was played differently, and he'd grown so much into that role. Peter Davison, very effective.
Yeah, and he chose to leave at the right time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was the right choice to leave like soon, you know, really quick.
And he was disillusioned with the scripts as well, wasn't
well,
he?
too
I
right.
heard that, yeah.
Yeah. And I think you know, you were talking a few minutes back, Brendan, about the fact about, you know, the astronaut episode where, you know, the regeneration at the beginning.
Yeah.
For me, I wish someone would take the guts at some point again and go, right, we're going to surprise everybody with a regeneration mid-series. You know, because this was in the season, wasn't it? This wasn't a new series with Colin straight after. You had Twin Dilemma, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Then it went into the new series.
Yeah.
So I just wish they'd do that again. You know, keep it quiet, shock people. Yeah,
they had one for Tennant, didn't they? When he met Rose again, but it was only that was a cliffhanger, wasn't it? I know it didn't go through with it.
Yeah, and the trouble with that
was
again, you kind of knew he was going to get out of it. Whereas
I think though that reason why they didn't do it, haven't done it again, is because it really did sort of shoot itself in the foot, really. Because the writing for the Twin Dilemma, Colin's great, but the writing is shoddy.
Yeah.
It just is.
Really?
No, really. I mean, by all means, watch it, because you will learn immediately what you need to know about Colin's Doctor, like straight up. But like
Colin's Doctor's a favourite of mine. I really like the Sixth Doctor. I know a lot of people don't.
Favorite.
Yeah,
Worst costume was a lot, but my favourite.
And Big Finish have done a great job at rounding him off.
Well, yeah, because he took it the way that he wanted to take it before his unceremonious exit.
Yeah,
because he was starting to do it. It just might be great.
Higher up.
I hate to do this to you, but we do promise things. This is a final word. No details. No kind of crazy stuff on 73 yards. Any final thoughts or considerations? Now, can I show you this photograph from the church on Ruby Road? Doing the rounds on Twitter. No, not everybody was saying, is that distance 73 yards? Or is there a point when the mother who's dumped the baby by the church and where the doctor is 73 yards? You know how RTD likes to do everything repetitively and it all comes together and you go, wow, genius. Anyway, they're putting it out there. To me, it looks
too close.
It looks close, but then I know that's the photograph I've got though, Sean. You know, she keeps walking, doesn't she? So just like on that football pitch in 73 yards, it gets to 73 yards only at one point, doesn't it?
I said to you a while ago that I'm still sticking with it, that the woman will end up being Millie at Ruby.
Oh yeah, I've figured it out. I've figured out what she says. I've figured out what the old Millie says to them. I bet she starts going, "Good to diddly meet you, diddly." Yeah, that's why they ran away in horror. That's why, because they got that bloody awful song from the Christmas episode. Sorry, Rachel.
No, that's all right.
I know what they said.
I have been.
He makes me swoon. Sorry,
I asked the other day. You're right there, Sean.
Sorry, I'm losing
it. The back of the class again. I know it. He's lad in the back of the class.
I'm expecting an aeroplane to come flying through the screen at any moment to hit me on the head because I'm a SWAT.
I was the SWAT. Don't you worry. The cool kids don't like Doctor Who. I'm sorry, but they don't. Don't target the cool kids.
So does anyone buy this as a out there theory?
You see, now the thing is, I have said multiple times that I suspect that it was old Ruby dropping herself off, crossing her own timeline. I have said things I could be ludicrously wrong. I have been wrong before, but I have made a couple of predictions this episode, this series that have actually come true already. So, is it getting too predictable? Who knows?
Any
Yeah,
thoughts, John, while I put your thread underneath of your new channel as well?
That's me.
thank you very
Rachel
much.
has got theories on it.
Yeah,
Rachel has got theories
me and
on it.
Rachel swapped.
No, we
Yeah.
have.
I'm now
Damn.
doing that about.
So have you got any theories there on what you've seen so far?
Just get it over and done with as quick as possible, please. That's my main thoughts on it. I think Rachel's right. I kind of mirror everything Rachel said. It's going to be very obvious. It's going to be, they're going to go, oh, weren't you surprised by what happened? And we'll be like, no, not really. Sort it a mile off.
Do you know the thing is though, like there's things in here, isn't there, that you would have really intrigued me back when in Moffat's era, in RTD's first era, like the fact that it snows, like with other doctors. And again, I'm not putting the boot in, but I can't like that scene where the doctor's like, I've never seen anything like this before, and it snows, and she's bringing weather from the past or the future or whatever. That should be like a really chilling moment. But we haven't got to know Millie. It feels tired. It feels hollow. It feels perfunctory. I don't know Ruby. I don't care about Ruby. I don't think Millie Gibson's got out to work with. And when the weak spot of your show, much like the Whittaker era, is the Doctor and the companion, that's not good. That's a death knell, I think.
I think me and Rachel, we thought Millie did a fairly good job, though, didn't we? We thought she held the episode together.
Yeah, because that is something that is incredibly difficult to do. And it was her first episode. Yeah. I'm not sure she filmed Church on Ruby Road at that point, or she had. Oh, my timeline's way off.
She says in the Instagram post that I showed on our stream on whenever it was last Sunday, that she mentioned that this was her first moment as Ruby.
Right, yeah, so...
They messed about with the order of these episodes. They must have messed about with them.
No, they did because of the sex education thing as well.
It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for them to film episodes out of order, particularly when you're working around different schedules per se.
But the series feels out of order, though, doesn't it? Like we had that episode with 2 Doctor Light episodes back to back, very, very odd. You had the second episode in. Oh no, not the second episode. You had the third episode in with Boom, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh dear God. You had just seen the comment. You had that third scene with Boom where the Doctor put that like episode 7, 6, 7 when we got to know him. We kind of maybe will care at that point. If he dies, he might die. It might be regeneration. Although we know I think everything, it feels out of order. It feels out of sync, if that makes sense.
Well,
yeah,
but Rachel did say, I think on our last stream on Sunday, that you think they've been changing the order as they've gone a little bit.
Yeah, because there's no the continuity it seems slightly off. I feel like the Devil's Cord was supposed to have been later, because at the beginning of the episode it implies that they've been traveling together for quite a while by this point. That's what it implied. But then when you go to Boom, it's saying that she's not seen a planet or something, or the universe like laid out as you see it in Boom, and that was her first ever time, which is already a continuity error.
She saw the planet and space babies, didn't she?
Yeah, exactly. But I felt like that was supposed to have, that's right. I felt like it was supposed to have come before the Devil's Cord.
You see,
something is off.
I'll come to you, John. Don't worry, as we round up now. But that's the script editor's fault to a degree, isn't it? Because they need to tweak those things, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what was it in the last couple of days? RTD's come out and said, "Oh, I'll never tell you what the old woman said." What?
That's either because he doesn't know.
Yeah. Or he's holding it back for a finale that we're not going to care about. But, but the thing is, I mean, I looked at it and a few gripes I had a long list, but I was like, well, again, why is it 73 yards? That was one of them. And then when I watched the episode, on Monday, and I was like, why is the woman that's hiking gone up to the old woman and then she's run off in terror? Why doesn't Ruby go and ask her what's going on?
Why would you send your mum?
Yeah,
Well,
and then
this
there's
is
lots of it. I mean, there's lots of it, and I don't know why the Doctor disappeared. I don't know why he then came back. There's meant to be
the 73 yards. He says in the making of it, and I get that because I thought, 73 yards, some hocus pocus thing, and he just said he was stood on that. I don't know, was it a 10B or Barry? He was stood. And he just looked at the distance and thought that's just about vague enough. And then he measured it. So I think it's just a basic like that. Now, it's our last word on 73 yards. We've had it because we've tried to be nostalgic. We're trying to give the love to Doctor Who. Please give us some love at the same time. Those who have stuck with us but haven't quite given us, you know what? An Oculoid looking for a subscription, away. And if you have given us a subscription, hey, post us on, repost and advertise us, man. And do tell us, by the way.
Slag us off.
Do you want us to do... do you want us to do next week, nostalgia-wise? I can't do a part 2 and a part 4. That's a bit repetitive. Do you want us to do another version of nostalgia? Give us some ideas there, please. For our Wednesdays, our midweek specials, when we kind of try and be a bit more nostalgic. But thanks for joining us. And hopefully you enjoyed some of our choices of part 1s. And it leaves us to do only one thing. And we're going to get dance after 3 hours. We're going to get dancing now. So thank you for joining us. Sunday again. Bye for now. Rachael, there you go. Right, John. Bravo. Doesn't work with you, John.
I know. I'll have to animate Mr. Bob.
Have a good night,